Good
Predictable, Lonzo.
night.
What? What?
Good night.
Why? It is 6:00 in the morning.
Yeah, but I wanted a show ender, so now I got one.
Okay, all right.
I stumbled upon. I mean, for
You were like,
consistency.
yeah, no, for sure. That's
I
definitely
mean-
what we were going for.
I mean, start the show and end the show with the same kid because I love that kid.
Mhm.
If that kid was in the room right now, I would hug him and protect him from whatever you would throw at him. He's a good kid. Got a great voice. Got a future in this business.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in the Rob Brown radio program. Is on your radio or your laptop or your cell phone or your tablet or your PC or wherever it is that you may be sitting down to enjoy, relax, unwind. It is 6:00 in the morning. Things are happening. You might want to take just a few minutes to let it out with us here on the show. I am Rob Brown. He
Let it out. I mean,
we're not talking about that again.
I
We talked
mean,
about that yesterday.
That's why I was making sure.
Yep. Nope.
Because it seemed like you were going that direction.
Nope. I think we have exhausted the annual quota of discussion about bowel movements. I think we got to move on to something else. I think we got to roll with the show.
I forgot to ask though. Did your grandma have like any tips if you're struggling? I mean, I may know a guy. So.
She did not actually. She does not. I think I really think it's just like a general concern concept,
Because most grandmas have a remedy.
No,
for
I
stuff.
said no to this. I said no to this.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if maybe she had her own bottled brew that she would give you in case there was difficulty. That's all. It's like in a mason jar. There's an odd orange color to it. I don't know.
So we're just jumping right back in.
What are we doing on the show today, Rob?
Great question, Lonzo. Glad you asked.
It is Friday. I don't know if you knew that.
It sure is.
It seems it's an abnormally long week for a 4-day week. At least I think it was.
I'm not going to disagree, but it's also because I was on vacation for like 2.5 weeks leading up to it. And despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of my vacation involved me doing nothing at all, the return to the office was good. I needed it, okay? I like doing the show. It is fun to me. It is enjoyable.
America.
I like doing the show. I missed during the show. And of course, the annual Christmas to New Year vacation that I take is when so many awesome sports things happen. What I need to start doing is flipping the schedule a little bit, and I need to start taking my vacation like the 2nd through 3rd weeks of January when nothing's happening. So I was sitting either at the house in the FLA or sitting in the house in the upstate with college playoff games happening and bowl games happening and basketball getting going and just not having a show to do, which on one hand was relaxing. I'd be lying to say that it wasn't, but I was really ready to get back. And then now that we're back, this has been like the longest 4 days I've ever had. And that's okay because, again, if the longest 4 days you've ever had are filled up with sitting in a chair talking about football and getting paid for it, there's a lot of people who have it much worse. Trust me, I know this is the epitome of hashtag first world problems.
Yeah, it's cold out there. You don't want to be out there.
Right. I know. In fact, on the way to work this morning, I stopped into the gas station because, of course, I ruined my no energy drink standings when I was on vacation. So I popped in this AM to grab this Monster. And as I'm standing there in the checkout line, up pulls a truck full of dudes that jump out of the truck to go get gas. Some of them coming in to grab a Red Bull or whatever. And they're all in 3 hoodies and a jacket and 2 pairs of pants and big boots that I'm assuming have flannel socks under them. I'm like, oh, these poor sons of guns got to work outside today. That's miserable. That's going to be awful. So I know that we're real lucky to do what we do and get to call it a job. But man, I got to tell you, I am ready for tomorrow. That's not even true. I got another 4-hour show tomorrow. I'm ready for Sunday. That's the most true.
All right.
Because it's NFL Week 18.
Yeah, but tomorrow you get to sleep in. So, I mean, 7 o'clock is sleeping in. I know for other people, it's like, man, I'm up early at 7 o'clock on a Saturday, but that's still sleeping in. So I think sleep adjustment still, we had just got adjusted to it, and then vacations started happening, and now we got to get back into that again.
Yep. I mean, again,
I'm spending too much time laying there going, I need to be asleep. I need to be asleep. Why am I not asleep? What time is it? Oh no, I need to go to sleep. Why am I not sleeping right now?
Worse things have happened. I will say this. Somebody asked me before vacation, how long is it going to take me to get the sleep schedule back to normal? The answer is not 4 days. I know that now.
You just got to get really tired. And yeah, I'm getting close.
I'm at the point now. There's going to be a flip spot, and it may be next week. Honestly, it may be Monday, but there's going to be a reset button hit where I just stay up all night one night. I just don't go to bed, right? And it might be next Monday because you got championship games. I don't know if I'm going to get right, because the problem is if I get right Sunday, we have a championship game that kicks off after 8 p.m. on Monday. Now, 8 p.m. is not late, but the fact that game,
yeah, because in theory it should be done around 11 if it because it's
let me make sure I got that time right,
because I thought it was earlier than that.
No, it's late, man. It's you gotta get that. It's Pac-12 team. You gotta get that.
Yeah, they don't care about that when it
nighter.
comes to championship games.
No, it's it. Well, coverage starts at 7:30 kickoff.
See, that's what I thought.
So I'm looking at a game ending around 11, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now. You want to know what? This is wild to me.
It's like a normal Monday night game. I mean, it depends on how long the halftime is.
True. There is a prop bet on the board for this game, and we'll talk a lot about these on Monday, because obviously Monday we're going to be pretty much doing wall-to-wall natty. But there's a prop bet right now. This game is plus 850 to go to overtime. 8-1. That's not a ridiculous number. I mean, it's ridiculous in that it's that short of a number. Like ordinarily, if I'm putting a parlay together, one of the things I've always liked to do is I will build a multi-team or really multiplayer prop parlay, and then there's what they call game props. And in those game props, it'll be like, who's the first team to score? Who's the first team to score 20 points? Will the first quarter end in a tie? Will it be a tie at halftime? Like, there's all these wild props, and a lot of times they're basically coin flip props, right? Like even or odd number of points. That's coin flip. That's a 50% flip. Now, there are people who dive into the math of it and try to come up with some edge, but I can't because I don't have that level of patience. But one of the ones that every now and then I like to throw in there to build a $5 prop that if it hits, you guys are going to hear me celebrating the next day because my mortgage will be paid for the next 2 months. One of the ones I like to throw in there every now and then is there will be overtime in this game. And ordinarily, you're looking for the right matchup for that, right? I'm looking for two high-scoring offenses. I'm looking for two offenses that have a point differential that is under 7 or under 10 or under 15, depending on what point of the game we're at. I'm looking for teams that are not scoring a ton of points. And I'm looking for a couple of different things to make me go, yeah, for sure, this is a potential overtime game, because ordinarily you pop an overtime prop in there and the odds on your bet skyrocket because the chances a game goes to overtime are very low. Ordinarily, will there be overtime is like 20-1, 25-1. It is 8-1 in this game. The bookmakers set, in fact, I'll even go pull up these props now just because I'm curious at this point. But the over-under on this game, I want to say, was somewhere in the 60s, which is kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. It's a big number. They think that you are going to end up with a ton of points from Washington, They moved it, Lonzo. It was around 61. The over-under's down to 56.5, which says to me that they are leaning heavy on Michigan's defense, and they are leaning heavy on Washington, I think. And I talked about this last night on BetMGM tonight, on this and other fine Odyssey stations nationwide with my friend Trista Crick. She and I agreed on something last night, and it's this. Our job as analysts, when we are playing the role of analyst, is to deep dive into these games and try to find things that the casual football fan may not spot. It's to deep dive these games and try to come up with things that we see that other people may not see and go, okay, yeah, this thing over here matches up with this. That's a strength v weakness. That's going to come into play or whatever. So she and I said, as much as that's our job, to us, and Lonzo, I want your thoughts on this. This game feels real simple to me. This game feels real simple. Michigan's defensive line versus Michael Penix Jr. And that's it. Michigan's got a good defense. Michigan's strength is the front seven. Dillon is banged up for Washington. Running the ball is going to be a bit of a question mark for Washington. He's a good but not great runner. Michigan's very good against the run. Ask Bama. This game comes down to, can Michigan's defensive line get into the backfield and disrupt Michael Penix Jr.? If they can't, he's throwing for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. If he can, or if they can, he is going to be running for his life, and he won't. Michigan's going to score points on Washington. Washington has the 121st ranked run defense in America. Blake Corum over 99.5 rushing yards is a guarantee. Blake Corum anytime touchdown score is a guarantee. These are happening. The only question mark is, can Washington be involved with Michigan in a track meet against a better defense because they have an exponentially better quarterback? That's the game, man.
See, I think if Washington can get out ahead, Michigan's going to have to do something they haven't done the last few games. They're actually going to have to open up their offense a little bit, and that could be a problem for them.
That's actually not a bad call,
because we've seen what kind of offensive numbers Washington can put up. So if Washington can get ahead and Michigan has to play from behind, they're going to have to change. After the cheating scandal, suddenly the Michigan quarterback stopped throwing the ball. So, and he can still throw it. I mean, last game we saw him make some completions, but they still primarily want to play good defense and just run the ball. But if they have to play from behind, they're going to have to count on McCarthy, I think is his name.
Yeah, that's his name.
I try not to pay attention to that team up north unless I have to. But if you have to go quarterback versus quarterback, I think we know who the better quarterback is.
If it comes down to quarterback play, that's Michael Penix Jr., except there is a big difference here. Michael Penix Jr. has got to be Michael Penix Jr. against, and this is true, the best defense he has played all year. And keep in mind, after that first Oregon game, Washington did not look as dominant the next 3 or 4 games in a row after that, right? After they had that regular season win over Oregon, what was it, 36-33, I think was the final in that one? Yes, that's exactly right. Hey, go Brain. Way to go. Look at the big brain on Brad. After that game in the regular season, the next week against Arizona State, they scored 15 points. Now, they didn't score less than, I think, 35 for 3 in a row, but those games were shootouts. 42-23 against a bad Stanford team that they pulled away from late. 52-42 over USC, a good offense, not a team they should have been in a slugfight with. 35-28. A 1-score win against Utah, and Utah did not have QB 1 or 2 in that game. 22-20 win over Oregon State. 24-21 win over Washington State. That's a rivalry game. And then 34-31 over Oregon. They played, I think, maybe, some of y'all will argue, but I think they played maybe the most difficult schedule of the 4 teams that made it to the playoff So they get a little bit of credit there. But after Oregon, who was a very good defense, flew around the field and punched him in the face a little bit, it kind of took him a little while to recover. Michigan's defense is hands down, without question, the best team that they have faced all year long. Are they going to be able to respond? We're going to break that game down a lot. A lot. Because Monday night is national championship night in America. And I am just now realizing in my head that the fiance and I committed to dry January, so no college football natty drinking for me. Oh, well. What
is dry? Well, I have a dry lifetime, so I don't know. What is dry January?
It's where I'm you, but just for January.
Okay.
I'm a teetotaler till February 1st.
I mean, why is this a thing? Is what I meant. Because
alcohol is full of sugar. That is a huge reason that I am a fat.
Okay. All right.
So it's
I don't disagree with you there about it being full of sugar and stuff.
Oh, it is. Listen, Daddy knows what he's putting in his body.
And beer is liquid bread. So, I mean,
it's good for you. Okay. There's an old song about that.
Yeah, I've heard the song. Yeah, Chris has played it for me multiple
Simpsons,
times.
I think. Anyway, point is, Monday Night Cincinnati, we're going to talk about it. But on today's radio broadcast, we have something that involves elimination before anything else. And no, I'm not talking about what we talked about yesterday. I am talking about this week's Week 18 in the National Football League. We have multiple divisions that are up for grabs. We have direct divisional championships. We have indirect divisional championships to talk about. We have player performances that we need to talk about. And we're going to get into all of that as the show progresses. My name is Rob Brown. That guy over there, that's the great one. He's Lonzo. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to get to. And we hit the ground running next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I'm not going to put it in trending because Aliens is just trending all over the place, and Miami. And since I've already seen
let me go look at that. Good morning, everybody who is in the chat but lurking quietly in the background and not saying anything. Wonderful to have you all.
You can watch the Grays as they take over the earth.
All right.
I think they're already here, but they're just wearing Edgar suits.
Every time that guy shows up in anything else, I'm like, Edgar.
Yeah.
The news about the actual situation in Miami last night is not yet clear, but this video online shows something that really took place. I heard it was 10-foot aliens in the mall. People started shooting at them. Florida.
I mean, yeah.
Another said hundreds of police showed up to tend to teens fighting with sticks. What really happened?
There are a lot of police there. I mean, it's probably the kids fighting with sticks, which, I mean, I guess it's better than fighting with guns. So
I mean, it definitely does look like Miami, but it also looks like a lot of other southern/Caribbean cities.
Well, there are other
ton of cops.
Yeah.
Like a lot of cops.
Yeah, there is. Like the kind of amount of cops that would be called out for riots. Whether by Grays
or a lot
or
of just regular cops.
Yeah.
All right, so like, do you see anything in here? Or is it just video?
No, there is something on the road moving. You just have to get to it. It's distant. Of course, they don't focus in on it. Well, because not every camera phone can do that. I'm sure yours probably can, but
You can. That's why I'm a Google Pixel guy.
Have you ever erased anybody out of your photos?
Dude, Magic Eraser is the best.
Okay, all right.
It's not nearly as efficient as they make it look on TV, but see, I don't.
It's only like a 2-minute video.
I know, but like I'm trying to see, like, do they show an alien or is it just?
No, there's something on the road moving. It's
where? I see people walking.
All right, now I'm going to have to go back and look myself. I did see it, but,
That is a lot of cops, though.
I mean, that's the first thing you notice. It's like, and the other thing is, if there really was, and could have been, I don't know, if there really was an alien, there probably would be a lot of cops, I'm guessing, and other black type vehicles there, you know. Maybe it's the same aliens that the.
According to local news, it was in response to a large fight in Miami's Bayside Marketplace.
Well, that's how
a
you're
large group of quote unruly juveniles.
Yeah, you're going to cover the aliens with that. Of course, it was. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's unruly kids. It wasn't a giant gray.
Unruly youths. Braden, what's up, big dog? Welcome in. Good to have you. Thanks for coming by, bud. All right, here we go. The Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What up, world? It is Rob and Lonzo here on the Witness and Pitch Show. Happy to have you. You want to be a part of the show. Now is a spectacular time to do so. 844-326-3663 is the number. You can text us on the text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. 71307. Start your text with FAN, and we will read them on the air. So, NFL playoffs are going to be set this weekend. The final seed and divisional winner will be capped on Sunday night when the Dolphins and the Bills play down in sunny South Florida. The winner wins the AFC East and can be as high as the 2 seed. The loser could be a wild card, could be removed from the playoffs entirely. And we will address those situations. Now, if the playoffs started today, they would look this way. In the AFC, the Ravens get the bye with the 1 seed. The 2 seed today would be the Miami Dolphins. They would open up hosting the Indianapolis Colts. The Kansas City Chiefs are the 3 seed. They are locked in at that spot. They can't move up or down. They are locked in at 3. The only question...
Which is why nobody's playing this week.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So the only question they have is, who will they be hosting in round 1? If the season ended today, it would be Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in round number 1. But should Buffalo beat Miami, that could flip. It could be Miami coming to town and Buffalo moving into the 2 seed. At the 4 seed, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, that one is maybe the most contentious of all because there are 3 teams in the AFC South all in contention. Indianapolis is currently the 7th seed as a wild card, but if Jacksonville loses to Tennessee and Indianapolis wins, they could get the wild card. The Houston Texans are currently on the outside looking in, but if Jacksonville loses and Houston wins and Indy loses, Houston could go in as your AFC South division winner. And obviously Jacksonville's on the road at Tennessee this weekend. It's real simple for the Jags, win and in. Now, Trevor Lawrence, question marks. He's been injured. He's been banged up. He's been missing some practices. He is returned to practice now, but he is not 100%. And on top of that, CJ Beathard has apparently got himself a little ding up as well. So the Jags coming into this game with the AFC South divisional title on the line and 2 banged up quarterbacks. Over in the NFC, the wild card round bye right now locked in are the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, by the way, the Browns at the 5 seed, if it all ended today, going in to the AFC playoffs. The NFC, number 1 overall seed, the San Francisco 49ers. The 2 seed today, the Dallas Cowboys by way of winning the NFC East. That is not a lock, however, because if Dallas loses, they're playing Washington. If Dallas loses this weekend, then the and the Philadelphia Eagles win. By the way, what a choke job. Was Philly losing to Arizona the biggest choke job of the year? Like, I got to think it was.
I don't know. Arizona is upset.
Arizona beat Dallas, too.
Yeah. So
they did. But when Arizona beat Dallas, it was week, 4? Like, the pressure wasn't on there. There was still a lot of time to get there. This is interesting. Dallas does have to go to Washington. What's the narrative around the Cowboys right now? They suck on the road, right? Real good at the Big D, suck on the road. So we will see how that plays out. Dallas loses and Philly wins. Philly takes the NFC South back and they jump back up into that 2 seed. The Lions are locked in as the 3 seed. They are hosting the LA Rams. If the season ended today, the Rams do have a playoff spot.
Wait. So the Detroit Lions are the number, not only a playoff team, but the number 3 seed.
The last time that the Detroit Lions won their division, I was 8 years old. Not like anything. Like, I was 8 years old. What's that? 5th grade? 4th grade? I don't know how grade ages are. Point is, I was a child the last time the Lions won their division. They get it done this year. The 5 seed Philadelphia Eagles would be the top seeded wild card team. They would be on the road at Tampa. And I'll tell you right now, as much as, great one, you and I and pretty much everybody talking football has lamented the status of the NFC South, Tampa can beat Philly at home if that's what Philly is right now. If the same Philly that played last week shows up, Baker can beat them.
Yeah, there's something wrong with Philadelphia.
There's something very wrong
maybe
with
they got old really quick or something. I don't know what it is. Or maybe Jalen isn't what people believed he was. I don't know.
I don't know that I'm quite ready to say that's the case with Jalen Hurts. But I am kind of tired of pretending like Jalen Hurts is like up there in the Mahomes, Lamar category. You know what I mean? Like, there's a couple of quarterbacks that I'm like, okay, they're very good. One of them that I've gotten into some fights about lately is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy starting the Pro Bowl for the NFC this year. Brock Purdy had a stellar year. I am not arguing. What I'm arguing is if I took Brock Purdy and I dumped him into New Orleans, they're the same team. If I took Brock Purdy and dumped him into Tampa, they're the same team. Brock Purdy, you know what Brock Purdy is? Brock Purdy's like the super rich kid that everybody's like, oh, he's so successful, but his dad was a billionaire anyway. You know what I mean? He's got such a he was brought into a team that has such a wealth of options and weapons around him, he can't help but succeed.
Is he Jimmy Garoppolo in New England? Because Garoppolo came in New England when Brady went down and did such a good job they had to ship him out.
I think that's maybe a fair comparison.
And then when Garoppolo got sent elsewhere, like to the Raiders, you find out, well, maybe he's not what some people thought he was.
Yeah, I think that might be a fair comparison. I think Brock Purdy is.
Sam Darnold starts the entire year for San Francisco. San Francisco still in the same position.
Yeah. I think they're probably playing for the number 1 seed this weekend instead of having locked it up. But I think they're in the same ballpark because, again, with Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, and that offensive line, like, I'm pretty sure I could have quarterbacked them to a wild card spot. That team is so well constructed, so well put together. I don't know how you could not succeed, honestly. I don't know how you could fail. That team is so well built. I like Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's fine. I'm just tired of pretending that Brock Purdy is Tom Brady. I'm tired of pretending Brock Purdy is Drew Brees. He's good. Like, he's good. But I think if you switched him with Baker Mayfield, I think we would be talking about Baker Mayfield as a Pro Bowler this year. And everybody would go, oh, they screwed up. Look how good he is. I think if I took Derek Carr and put him in San Francisco, the 49ers would still be the 1 seed. I don't think he's that much better than everybody else. I think he's just he's got himself a roster around him that you can't help but win with.
So Cam Newton was right.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
There are some guys that Cam Newton was wrong about, I think. But I think Jalen Hurts has been placed into that category. I think he was right about. Didn't he say Jalen Hurts was one of those guys?
I think so.
I think he did too.
I think that's one of the ones that made people mad.
And I think he was right. I'm gonna tell you this. Can I tell you? I kind of like Bleep You blogger Cam Newton. I kind of like podcast Cam. Like, I kind of like him because a lot of what he said, I'm like, he's not wrong. You may not like it, but he's not wrong. And I think that was one of those takes. There were probably one or two guys that I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that particular take. But I think it is. I think Jalen Hurts is on display. One of my, I got a buddy of mine who's a Cowboys fan. We watch games together every now and then. And he goes, I want you to witness something. I want you to look at something. You ever notice, Lonzo, every game that Philadelphia is in that is competitive, Jalen Hurts is always banged up. There's always something. And I'm like, is that true? And you go back and look, and it kind of is. Now, I was like, is it maybe that they're in these games because he's banged up? He's like, no. If Philadelphia comes out and they build a quick 14, 21-point lead, Jalen Hurts is out there jumping and running around. If they're in a game that's like a 3-point game late in the contest, Jalen's always got a limp. He's always got a flu. He's always got the cold. I think there might be some level of truth to what Cam said about Jalen.
All right.
I definitely think there is about Brock Purdy.
It doesn't look like he said it about Jalen.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure he said it about Brock Purdy. Obviously, we've been talking about that.
Yep.
Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jared Goff, and says there are only two really game changers in the game right now at quarterback, and that's Lamar and Mahomes.
I would agree about Brock. I would agree. Well, okay. That to say game changer is kind of interesting. To me, I think a lot of people hear game changer and they think about an improviser, right? And Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are the two best improvisers in the league. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes because of being an improviser. Patrick Mahomes has a good arm. It is not his arm that has made Mahomes Mahomes. It's the improvisational skills. Lamar Jackson has a good arm, but he's incredible at stretching plays and keeping plays alive to allow other dudes to make a move. Jared Goff, to me, is a dude who throws passes that a lot of average quarterbacks can't throw. I think that's got to be considered game changer as well, right? Jared Goff and Matt Stafford, by the way, are both in the playoffs. They're both in the playoffs. And I think both of them. Now, I'm a little bit bigger on Goff because I think he's doing it with a defensive head coach. He's having to be a little bit more of an offensive coordinator QB versus Sean McVay in LA. And the fact, by the way, Puka Nacua, what a dude, what a guy. I think there's a couple more weapons, although Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is heated, by the way, that he didn't get in the Pro Bowl. And that's fair. That dude's a star. But I think there's a little bit more between Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and a touchdown machine at running back in LA. I think there's a little bit more to work with in LA than Detroit. I don't think Cam was wrong. I just think that a lot of guys, and I think Cam falls into this trap, a lot of guys look at the ability to extend a play is what we define as game changer and not the ability to throw passes that most average quarterbacks can't throw. I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. I don't think Brock Purdy is nearly as challenged defensively as a lot of other quarterbacks. Because San Francisco can spread the field so wide open with so many dudes that you can't focus on Brock Purdy, right? You bring heat against Purdy, he's got McCaffrey to dump it out to. McCaffrey gets the ball in the flats, you are toast. You can't come up with a balanced extra rush front across the middle to defend both Purdy and McCaffrey, but because then you got to worry about Debo crossing you up or Ayuk beating you deep. I don't think they have a choice but to succeed with how much talent that they have. Do I think Brock Purdy's good? Yeah. Do I think he's carry you to a Super Bowl good? No, but I think that offense is get to a Super Bowl good. I did on, what was it, Tuesday? I did a BetQL update that ran, you may have heard it, in syndication across America. There he is.
It was amazing. I was enthralled and I couldn't move from my chair. It was like, dude, why are you not doing this all the time?
Because I'm just a fill-in. I'm just a B-roll guy, man. They told me the night before at like 10:30, they're like, hey, can you record us a little BetQL update that we can run on our syndication tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And I just made that up on the spot. But I stand by it. I'm going chalk to the Super Bowl. I'm going chalk to the Super Bowl. It's the NFL. There could be an upset. But right now, there are two teams that are locked in as the 1 seed. And both of them have been locked in for a week now. And I don't see anybody beating them.
Seems to me that, I mean, how many years has chalk happened? Because I don't recall. It didn't last year.
It's rare.
Because I believe San Francisco was the one who weren't they number 1 seed last year? Or was it because Philly wasn't picked to win and Philly beat San Francisco because Purdy got hurt.
Purdy did get hurt, and Debo was not happy about it. Philly last year was 1 seed, San Francisco the 2 seed, Minnesota the 3, Tampa Bay the 4.
Okay.
Dallas, New York, Seattle.
All right, so I'm wrong. So it went chalk
last year.
Okay,
yep.
All right.
Yep, it was chalk.
For some reason, I thought San Francisco was 1 and Philly was 2.
So
I believe San Francisco was probably picked to win over Philly, but
I'm sure they were, and then Brock Purdy got hurt. But no, I think chalk's the way to go. I think after 17 weeks,
I don't know how you can believe in the Ravens until they can prove otherwise. They've had really good teams going into the playoffs and have lost. And
I agree with that. I also think this is, and I can make this argument later in the show, I think this is the best team they've had going to the playoffs since Ray Lewis was there.
And obviously I have bias, but I'm not sure if Kansas City goes to the Super Bowl. They've got too many problems.
You got too many problems.
Yeah.
You have lost them.
I'm not if they make it there, I'm happy.
Sure.
But I don't think they're going to.
I think you guys have lost, not to say it can't be brought back.
No.
I think you've lost the edge where everybody's afraid of you.
The edge, I think, is a good word because when they got rid of their tackles and brought in 2 new tackles this year, that's been the major problem with all the movement and lining up too deep and all that kind of stuff and not being able to protect Patrick Mahomes. I think that is the biggest problem.
I agree.
And I know passes are being dropped and things, but he's having to hurry his passes. He's having to do what he does improvisationally because he's running for his life a lot because the tackles are not that good. And Kansas City should have paid whatever money they needed to keep the guys they had for the Super Bowl run.
I think that Kansas City has a couple of issues. Number one, personnel. I think your wide receiver core has let Patrick Mahomes down, and that's not even the problem. I think the problem is your receiver core has let Patrick Mahomes down to the point, though, that he has lost trust in them. And so when Mahomes used to improvise, it's because he could throw that backwards falling down, somehow body is parallel to the ground, sidearm cannon shot, and somebody down there was going to catch the ball. You guys have had so many drops and so many tips that he doesn't trust them to make that catch anymore. So he either takes that ball to the ground or he just chunks it OB. And when he's not able to successfully improvise anymore, I think you get to a point where, why am I afraid of Patrick Mahomes? He's not the fastest runner. He's not the slipperiest runner. He's got a cannon that can get it down the field. But we know that those guys can't catch. I'm not afraid of Patrick Mahomes anymore, right? He's like the old prize fighter that lost his straight right. He's not the same dude. I can attack him now. And once that happened, I don't think Andy's been able to adjust to it. You take Travis Kelce away across the middle, you pretty much have eliminated their ability to get rid of the football.
And that's what teams are doing.
Yeah.
And which is a smart move.
And that's why Travis Kelce's so damn frustrated. And by the way, Kelce's got his own share of drops this year, right? But I think that is primarily because guys are bracketing Travis Kelce, and when he does catch the ball, he gets rocked because they've got him bracketed, because who the hell's afraid of anybody down the field? Nobody. So I think, yeah, I'm not going to say Kansas's run is over. I am going to say this offseason might get a little uncomfortable because Patty is going to have some stuff to start saying. Kansas City's going to have to go on the road, either in the second or third round, maybe to go see Josh Allen. You think Josh Allen's not salivating a little at the thought of making Mahomes come play him in his house this time? It's a tough year, man. All right, we're going to talk a lot of playoffs when we come back here in just a minute from right now. Well, let's just stick with the playoffs. Why not? Let's just stick with the playoffs. We're going to talk college football in the second hour. Third hour, just going to kind of be a wild card spot. You know what we should bring back in hour 4 we haven't done in a while? How about a little Fanboy Friday today? We might have to get it. We were off 3 weeks, all right? We may have to do a segment that gets stick to sports guy all up in his feels. Ray may be texting us today.
You say that. I don't think we've done it since we moved to the mornings.
I don't think we have either.
Yeah.
I'm going to write it down on the prep sheet just in case. We'll see. Rob Lonzo, you, the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line in the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/free. Ramp.com/free. ramp.com/free.
If you're looking for a new couch, you could cut down on expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Because you know you've had this couch for too long. Sure, you've had good times together, but a ripped-up cushion is not a fond memory. It's a sign. Notice how other people have couches with 2 armrests? Now that's living, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renters and car insurance with Progressive.
So how's everybody? I see y'all watching, but nobody's talking. Where we at, people? What do you want to talk about?
7 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, the Fan.
Stage 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live from the Fan. CBS Sports Radio. Rise and shine, sports fans. Coffee and get a jolt on the show with Mark.
All right, so we're talking NFL playoffs on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Let's get into what these scenarios look like. Coming up this weekend, we'll be talking about these games more in depth as the show proceeds. We'll begin in the AFC. Game that matters outright, Houston v. Indianapolis. Now, this game's meaning could be nullified because Jacksonville can win the game and win their division outright. Real simple. Clinch the AFC South with a win. But if Jacksonville ties or loses, then both Houston and Indy are in play. The Houston Texans can clinch the AFC title with a win or a Jacksonville loss or tie. The Texans can clinch a playoff berth with a win or a Houston tie plus a Jacksonville loss plus a Pittsburgh loss or tie. I know it kind of gets a little convoluted when we start getting into those spin-off scenarios, but they are all in play. As far as the Colts go, they are playing said Houston Texans. Indianapolis clinches the AFC South title with a win plus a Jayville loss or tie, or an Indy tie and a Jacksonville loss. They can clinch a playoff berth by winning the game or tying the game and having Pittsburgh lose or tie. Speaking of the Steelers, they got a nice little Christmas gift. The Baltimore Ravens clinched the number 1 overall seed. The Baltimore Ravens will not be playing their starters this weekend. No need to. 2-week break for Lamar and the gang. The Steelers clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Buffalo loss, a win and a Jacksonville loss, a win and a tie between Houston and Indy, a Pittsburgh tie and Jayville loss, plus Houston and Indy does not end in a tie, or Jacksonville loss, Denver win, and Houston Indy doesn't end up in a tie. So basically, if you are Pittsburgh, win and you're a Miami fan and you're in. Miami can clinch the AFC South, AFC East, win or tie. Real simple for them. The Bills, AFC East with a win outright. They cannot have a tie. They got to win outright. The Bills are not guaranteed a playoff spot. They have to at the least tie. They can have Pittsburgh lose or tie, Jacksonville lose or tie, or Houston-Indianapolis game ends in a tie. I've said tie so many times, it's a weird word now. You know that thing where once you say a word a certain amount of times, it kind of loses its impact?
Unless it's moist.
I know I literally know a lot of people who shudder at that word, and I don't understand
It's so weird. But you could say that 1,000 times, and some people it still will bother.
It's not. I don't understand.
It doesn't lose its power.
Yeah, I don't understand.
It's one of the words it's all powerful.
Why is it? Why though? Why is moist the word that turns people off? Is it because are people adverse to things being halfway between wet and dry? I don't understand.
I think it's just a word. I don't know if the meaning of the word makes people uncomfortable, but the word makes people uncomfortable.
I know that. I don't know why though. What is the power of the word moist to people? Jacksonville can clinch the AFC South title with a win or a tie plus a tie in the other game.
Is Trevor playing?
It looks like Trevor's going to play. Does not look like Trevor's going to be 100% when he does. He's still dealing with that injury from a couple of weeks ago. CJ Beathard is banged up as well, and they got to deal with that. Jags go to the playoffs with a tie plus a Pittsburgh loss, or Pittsburgh loss, Denver loss, or a tie plus Indy Houston not ending up in a tie. Over in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys win the NFC East with a win, with a tie plus Philly tie, or a straight-up Philadelphia loss. Tampa Bay on the road at Carolina. They clinched the division with an NFC South title with a win. Real simple. They also clinch the division if they tie and New Orleans loses or ties.
Who's Tampa Bay playing again?
They are on the road at Carolina. So congratulations on your NFC South title, Buccaneers.
Well, I listen. If you want to go see a team clinch a playoff berth, I'm sure there are tickets available. That's all I'm saying.
You know, we do need to look up the ticket market this weekend. I'm curious as to what it looks like. What a win for Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, do they travel fairly well? I mean, how far of a...
I don't think Tampa travels dramatically well, but this is a division clinching game. So you might have some extra folks show up. We'll see. Plus the tickets are cheap. So we'll see. The Bucs can also clinch a wild card spot with a tie plus a Seattle loss and a Green Bay loss or tie. Atlanta can make the playoffs. Not only can Atlanta clinch, but if Atlanta on the road knocks off New Orleans on Sunday and Tampa loses, Atlanta can win the division. Now, there is no path to a wild card for Atlanta. It is either division title or bust for them. But if they beat New Orleans and Tampa loses to Carolina, they're in. New Orleans is just on the outside looking in. They can claim the NFC South with a win and a Tampa Bay loss, or a tie plus a Tampa Bay loss. The Saints, unlike Atlanta, do have a path to the wild card. A win plus a Seattle loss and plus a Seattle loss or tie and a Green Bay loss or tie puts the Saints in, or the Saints tie and Seattle and Green Bay both lose. The Eagles clinch the NFC East with a win plus a Dallas loss or tie, or a Philadelphia tie and a Dallas loss. Otherwise, they are a wild card team. Seattle can get in the wild card. They cannot win the division, or obviously that belongs to San Francisco. Seattle win plus a Green Bay loss or tie. A Seattle tie plus a Green Bay loss or plus Tampa Bay loss or tie, or a Seattle tie plus a Green Bay loss, New Orleans loss or tie. And Seattle can get it. I doubt they are going. Green Bay can clinch a playoff spot with a win. Outright win, they're a wild card spot. Green Bay tie plus Seattle loss or tie. Green Bay tie plus Seattle loss plus Tampa Bay loss. Green Bay tie plus Seattle tie plus Tampa loss. Or Minnesota loss or tie plus Seattle loss plus Tampa loss. Minnesota loss or tie plus Seattle loss plus New Orleans loss. Basically, win, Green Bay. Like, just win. Because they got a bunch of... Green Bay's the one that needs like 3 or 4 plus other teams in every scenario if they don't win. Minnesota gets in with a win plus a Green Bay loss plus a Seattle loss, or a Minnesota win plus a Green Bay loss and New Orleans loss. So Minnesota is rooting for the Chicago Bears hard this weekend because both of their scenarios rely on Green Bay taking the L. So there's your playoff scenarios. That's how everything shapes up for the weekend. I've given you my thoughts on who I think is getting in. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because I don't think anybody's beating San Francisco or Baltimore. Those teams just need 2 wins, and they are going to be the most well-rested teams in the National Football League when divisional rounds get here in a couple of weeks. Speaking of well-rested, we're not, but Lonzo's going to do a sports flash well anyway.
We'll say, don't you be spreading those lies.
My best work.
The transfer portal is running out of highly touted quarterbacks days after DJ Uiagalelei committed to Florida State. Former Kansas State quarterback Will Howard has committed to Ohio State. Howard led Kansas State to the 2022 Big 12 title and was 12-5 over 2 years with the Wildcats. The Atlanta Braves have solidified their starting pitching for the near future. Former Red Sox Chris Sale signed a 2-year, $38 million extension yesterday with the club opt-out of 2026. The NCAA and ESPN have announced a deal that will involve 40 NCAA championships being aired on the network over the next 8 years, including 21 women's and 19 men's, totaling 800 hours of championships on TV. We are your home for Furman Paladins basketball. Tune in tomorrow at 6:30 for the game. You're right, Kevin. We can't be twinning it, So, I mean, yeah. Change into your Green Lantern shirt.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Vamos a tener mucha diversión.
And that means we're going to have so much fun.
Gracias, Babel.
Babbel, language for life, celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Just go to babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's babbel.com. Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
There you go, Hulk. That works.
For 2 scratch-made sizzling sausage biscuits for just $4. One bite, you'll want breakfast for dinner. Good thing we serve savory sausage biscuits all day. But this 2 for $4 deal won't last forever. It's bow time.
So you're in the middle of a kitchen update, and you can't tell if that's a faucet stem or a flange. With the Home Depot app, do it. Doesn't miss it.
I got to get back into t-shirt shape. I'm not in t-shirt shape.
And it'll show you how to find it in store.
I haven't been in t-shirt shape since 1985, so I mean, I don't. Is it really a t-shirt shape, though? I think people who wear t-shirts every day, and I would be one of them, don't really care.
Right. I think not really caring doesn't make you in or not in I think there is t-shirt shape, but I also think it's subjective to each individual person. If you don't care, then no, there's not a t-shirt shape.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur.
I am simply not comfortable in t-shirts right now. I got too fat.
I'm not comfortable in anything. So no matter what I wear, I'm not going to feel comfortable. I might as well, go with what's easiest to put on. So, which may be one of the reasons why I'm struggling, because, going for the easy stuff, but. Which is also good that I picked my clothes out the night before, because if I'm just grabbing stuff in the morning, I'll end up with someone else's shirt and I have to deal with it all day, and I wouldn't want to do that. Just seeing if he was paying attention.
I got this is work you need to do email. Hooray.
This early?
I mean, it's fine.
Is this something that you're already supposed to be doing, but wasn't? And not, yeah.
No, but it fits into one of those things.
Gotcha. It is January. I warned you.
featured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, with our numero dos right here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I am Rob, the great one Lonzo, on the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM. Should you like to be a part of the radio broadcast, now is an opportunity to do it. 844-326-3663. Text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. I stayed up late last night because I got trapped by this Denver Golden State game, which was phenomenal, by the way. I mean, phenomenal. And I noticed a couple of things. Number one, Nikola Jokic is unbearable. And I mean that in the most complimentary way, right? I have never
Yeah, that word
seen-
is usually used for the opposite of that.
Yeah, let me tell you why I'm using that word. I have never seen in sports, and I'm sure some of y'all can come up with some examples, but I've never seen anybody who meets it as much as Nikola Jokic. I have never seen a dude look so lackadaisical, yet be so incredible at his job at the same time.
Come on.
Ever.
I mean, you sit
No,
across
he
from
puts
me.
you to shame.
You sit across from me every day. I
He
mean,
puts you to shame, and that's complimentary to him, not negative towards you. Nikola Jokic never looks like he's trying, and then comes up with games like his jump shot. It looks like he just kind of like, whatever. If it goes in, it goes in. And what does he do last night? But with 3-something seconds left in the game and a 127 tie, like you do, Lonzo, the Nuggets call a timeout. The Nuggets call a timeout, and they run an inbounds play at half court. And like one does on an inbounds play at half court with under 4 seconds left to play, who do they inbound the ball to? Their 7-foot-tall big man in the backcourt. And what does Nikola Jokic do? He crosses half court. He launches a 40-foot three-point shot, and it goes in. The Nuggets win 130-127.
and then he goes home.
Yeah. Like now, I will say this. He broke character. He actually hugged one of his guys. Gave him the old bro hug. And then they go to him for the sideline post-game interview with the NBA on TNT, fellas. And he puts on the headset, and this is it. Yeah, I knew it was going to bank in. Yeah, I knew it was a good shot. Yeah, I felt good about it. Like, dude, I hit a shot like that. I'm celebrating now, today, this moment, dude. Like this moment. That's unbelievable. I've never seen anybody look like they don't care like Nikola Jokic, but still be incredible at their job. I know people who look like they don't care at their job because they don't care about their job. And I know people who have been incredible at their job, but they don't look like they are bored of it. Nikola Jokic is going to win another title or two, retire, and we're never going to hear from him again. He is going to disappear off the grid. He's going to own like an alpaca farm somewhere in Western Europe. And 6 days after he retires, we're going to start the conversation. Whatever happened to Nikola Jokic? Because we're never going to see the guy again. And I love it. I love it. If you are one of those cats, it's like, oh, I don't watch the NBA anymore because the players are, they're too outlandish or they're too vocal or they're too demonstrative or whatever. I got to suspect you're a huge Nikola Jokic fan. Victor Wembanyama looked good last night, too. I watched that game. I watched both games. I watched Spurs, Bucks, and then I watched Nuggets, Warriors. Victor Wembanyama v. Giannis Antetokounmpo last night was as good of a game as I've watched in a while. Giannis drove to the rack with seconds left in the game to win, and Wemby swatted him. No respect. I mean, just turned him away. It was incredible. It was his 20th birthday last night, and he celebrated. Also threw the off-the-backboard self-alley-oop, did Victy. Dude was just slinging last night. It was unbelievable. Last night was, despite a ton of Spurs L's this year, last night was the night you're like, oh, okay, this guy might be him. This guy might be the guy we got told he was going to be. So we'll see. Good night in the NBA. Ladies and gentlemen, it is just after 7 o'clock in the morning. You are inside of an hour left until you've got to clock in and go to work. And when you get there, I know you, much like everybody else, is going to be looking forward to your first break. And if you're like me, one of the reasons you're looking forward to your first break is because it's the time to talk sports with your coworkers around the water cooler. And if you're going to do that, you need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
You hear that?
their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go.
Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, ladies and gentlemen. The 3 things you need to know before you go start talking sports around the office today. Shockingly, as we transition, not quite yet, but as we transition out of football season and into basketball's height, I have 2 NBA stories in our water cooler cheat sheet. I can do this. I'm a professional. We start with item number 1. Last year, the NBA decided to put a participation policy into play for the 2023-24 season.
I thought you were going to say a participation trophy, but the Lakers already won that.
Stop hating on the in-season tournament. I loved it. I want it to be longer. Run it into March next year. Let's make it a home and home against every team in your group now.
You know what? Let's make it the entire season, and then they could do it at the end of the season, and they could crown a champion.
Like playoff style?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Great idea. I love the tournament. Stop hating on things I like, all right? The participation protocol policy, that's it, went into play this year. And the first team has been hit for violating the participation policy. The NBA fined the Brooklyn Nets $100,000 yesterday for violating the player participation policy when the team sat several players during a game against the Bucks last week. 4 of the Nets starting 5 were on the bench for that game. Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton were all out. Mikal Bridges, Cam Thomas, and Royce O'Neal all were involved in the game. None of them played after the first quarter, which came just one day after they beat the Pistons. That is 4 starters and a couple of rotation players that did not get onto the hardwood for the Nets in that game. The NBA said, quote, 4 Nets rotation players who did not participate in the game could have played. Joe Dumars is the NBA's executive vice president and head of basketball operations. He said, quote, we've been very clear with teams that we are trying to accomplish what we are. Let me start all of this over again.
What he said was,
we've been very clear with teams what we are trying to accomplish and what we'd like to see. And if I'm just cutting to the chase, if you're going to sit 4 starters at one time, that's going to violate the policy, and it violates the spirit of what we're trying to do here, end quote. The Nets would not emphasize when they explained why they had so many guys sitting. Their head coach, Jacques Vaughn, said that he had to, quote, think short-term and long-term for the betterment of the group, quote, unquote. Now, I have been saying for a while, I get the concept. I have a slight issue with it in that there is only one goal for NBA teams, to win a championship. That's the only thing. And when you start creating policies that demand that teams manage their rosters certain way, it can ding them a little bit. It can hurt them a little bit, especially when you're talking guys that are older players, guys like LeBron James, who, by the way, got more all-star votes in the first round of voting than anybody else. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But if the goal is to win a title and you start figuring out that, all right, if I let these two guys sit on the same day, they bounce back and score 50 combined the next day, and then you start telling teams, no, you can't do that, you're impacting their roster management in the way that best sets them up to make a playoff run. And you're doing it because Bob takes his kid to the game expecting to see Giannis and Dame play, and those guys are sitting for rest. I don't know, man. Like, I understand the point, but is it more important that the 22,000 in attendance for the Milwaukee game get to see Giannis and Dame, or is it more important that the Bucks set up the best possible playoff scenario for themselves? It's a real easy answer for me. We'll see how it plays out. The Nets eat $100K fine for sitting down a bunch of guys in a game.
Sorry, Rob won't be here for a portion of the fourth hour because of management. So we're gonna set him aside. He'll still be in the room. He'll just be sitting over there and watching.
Yes, I am load managing. Whole third hour, I'm out for load management purposes.
I think any other profession you can't do that. So I mean, show up, do your job, man. You signed a contract. Work, man.
There are very few jobs that require the physicality of an NBA player. NFL players get 7 days off. MLB players do not play a game that requires them to bang and bump constantly. And NBA players are playing 4 to 5 games a week. I don't think there is another sport that is as physical as the NBA, as consistently as the
Just
NBA.
realized I still haven't found the stream-friendly violin music yet. I got to work on that.
Item number 2 on the water cooler cheat sheet. Sticking with the NBA for just a minute, the NBA has released the first returns from the All-Star fan vote. And Giannis Antetokounmpo and LeBron James are the dudes. The only 2 players in the league to acquire more than 2 million fan votes. Giannis leads the league with 2,171,812 fan votes. LeBron James, 2,008,645. Joel Embiid checked in third. Kevin Durant fourth with 40,000 fewer votes than Embiid. And with 40,000 fewer votes than Durant, Jason Tatum rounded out the top 5. The top 5 vote getters are all front court players. Luka Doncic of the Mavericks, Tyrese Halliburton of the Pacers, and Steph Curry of the Warriors are amongst the top guards. In the West, the order in terms of vote getters goes in the front court goes LeBron, Durant, Jokic, Davis, Leonard, George, Sengun, Wembanyama, Holmgren, Cat, Karl Anthony Towns. Over in the guards position, they go Doncic, Curry, Gilgeous-Alexander, Harden, Irving, Edwards, Morant, Fox, Thompson, and Austin Reeves. In the East, the front court is composed of Giannis, Joel Embiid, Tatum, Jimmy Buckets, Brown, Adebayo, Bridges, that would be Mikhail, Porzingis, Kuzma, Banchero. In the guards, Halliburton, Lillard, Young, Mitchell, Maxey, Brunson, LaMelo Ball from Charlotte, despite not playing, was number 7 on the guards list out of the East. Derek White, DeMar DeRozan, and rounded out with Drew Holiday. There is your first round. The fan vote counts for 50% of the overall vote to decide the All-Stars. The other 50% split evenly between NBA players and a media panel. There will have more votes as fan voting continues through January 20th for the fans. Your All-Star teams revealed on the 25th. And now we get to item number 3 on the water cooler cheat sheet. I saved this one for last because I think it is the one that you guys are going to be the most interested in, and we will discuss it at length in the next segment. But next week, there is something massive happening in the world of college football. And it is not the college football national championship game. I mean, that is massive and it is happening. But this is unrelated to that. Next week, while the eyes of the world are tuned in on Monday night to watch the Natty, there will be a meeting happening in Phoenix, Arizona, an NCAA convention. At this convention will be college administrators of every level under the banner of the NCAA. And at this meeting, these managers, these administrators will be discussing further exploration of Charlie Baker's proposal to change the Division I competition model. At that meeting, they will review the proposal brought forward by Charlie Baker and determine whether to charge the Division I Council or another organizational body with developing recommendations related to the framework of the proposal, a decision that will initiate a potentially year-long activation process and chart a course for one of the most radical changes in NCAA history, that from Ross Dellinger. Baker's proposal has been called the Project Division I. That's what they're calling it. It was introduced last month, would permit schools to strike name, image, and likeness deals with athletes and offer them an unlimited amount of educationally related benefits. A third concept, perhaps viewed as the most radical, creates a new FBS subdivision, which participation would require schools to deposit a trust of at least $30,000 per athlete for half of a school's athletes. Now, what's interesting about this is Dellinger says there are two things happening. Number one, there is a timeline for the D1 Council, if given authority to further explore the proposal, to produce final recommendations to the board by June 25th. By August of next year, the board would take action on those recommendations. The timeline targets next January's NCAA convention for action on the new subdivision structure. However, the timeline is not a rigid one. The timeline is not one that is locked in. Anything can be moved. That is a rough outline. The second thing that Dellinger wrote down was that while there was a lot of shock, remember when we talked about this story, when this story dropped, it was shocking. There were a lot of people going, yo, what is happening right here, right? Dellinger says that amongst the collegiate administrators circle, mostly this proposal was, quote, met with fanfare for its progressive and bold approach, end quote. They said the shock from the administrators was not shock in terms of them making the move. They said the shock was that this is a big step and we don't know what the implementation looks like. Dellinger is arguing on Yahoo Sports' primary website that a lot of college administrators are actually in favor of Charlie Baker's proposal. And I would say that my suspicion is, yes, you would be if you are amongst the upper echelon of college football. If you're Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, you are probably on board with this, right? I would also say it's probably primarily amongst the schools that are involved in the Power 2, the B1G and the SEC, maybe the Pac-12, the Big 12, but mostly in the Power 2. The Project D1 was, according to Dellinger, thrown out there to be a conversation starter, right? Not, this is the product, this is what we're doing, this is what it looks like, but more along the lines of, here's a thought, discuss it amongst yourselves for a moment. Except for apparently people loved it. Sorry, scratch that. The people with the power to enact or reject it apparently loved it. And so next week, while we are all basking in the afterglow of a completed college football season, there will be a bunch of dudes and dudettes that are sitting around in Phoenix making decisions about the future of the game. And we will follow that story as closely as we can as it develops. So there you have it, your water cooler cheat sheet, the 3 things you need to know before you get to the office and talk sports when we come back here in just a moment from right now. We will talk a little bit more about these meetings and what they mean. There is a list of changes to the NIL and to the transfer portal that are going to be discussed next week as well. I'll tell you what those are when we come back. My name is Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo on the ones and twos. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It is the Fan Upstate.
Here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Sunny skies today, high 46. Tonight, chance for rain, late cloudy, low 33. Saturday, chance for rain, high 33. And on Sunday, sunshine.
You're right, James. Hockey doesn't do load managing. Does the shortstop for a professional baseball team, do they play every game?
Nope.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure they do. When they don't, why don't they?
Rest.
Is that okay?
That's
all right.
That's relatively
Same with the
common.
first baseman.
Correct.
Same with the outfield.
Why do you
I've
think-
never heard that before. But
Why do you think you don't hear about consecutive game streaks anymore? It's not because everybody gets hurt. Absolutely, guys get rest days in baseball.
I don't know, man. I'm doubtful of that one. I mean, usually I believe everything, but that one I just don't. Because that would be big news.
To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
So, you got a new gadget over the holidays. Don't forget to listen to your favorite
Jake Paul buys insane $580,000 yellow Ferrari with 1,000 horsepower. What do you do with a car like that? 1,000 horsepower. I mean, why do you need 1,000 horsepower?
Because you can. That's it.
Yesterday on McAfee, they had Pagano put on the Oculus and fight. It was amazing. The new thing on the new Oculus is AR. So you don't run into walls and stuff. So you can map out. So they mapped out in the gym.
Yeah.
And they showed how they did it on the game. It looks really cool. So he's boxing in the middle of their gym.
Yeah.
And you can actually see the gym around it, which prevents people from, I guess, walking into walls and
Yeah, I always
falling
wondered,
over
I always
furniture.
wondered about that.
Yeah. Oh, it's reality, because I would make sure I backed up into whatever couch I was in front of, so it was always on the back of my calves. But you definitely lose where you are.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. So we talked to you a little bit in that last segment. We had a discussion about the NCAA meeting that is going to be taking place next week. It is a convention that is going to be taking place next week over in Phoenix, Arizona, at the conclusion of the college football season. There are obviously multiple things on the agenda for that. We talked to you about the one that I think is likely going to be the biggest one. That is Charlie Baker's proposal to create the new subdivision that allows schools to create trust funds for the players. Now, keep in mind, one of the things that I am interested in is, does this create a setup where NIL collectives basically turn into, or maybe even group back into, effectively booster clubs, right? Where they start sending checks to the university like booster clubs used to, but they do so now with them earmarked for NIL money. The fact that you've got to give half of those trust funds you got to give those trust funds to half the student athletes on campus, and 50% of those have got to go to female athletes. I'm interested to see how schools collect these funds that go into these $30,000 at minimum trust funds and how they are distributed. I'm also interested to see, for the schools that decide to join that subdivision, I'm interested in seeing how it is that the NIL collectives at those schools begin to organize, how the NIL collectives at those schools decide to start sending their money in. Like I mentioned, does this basically force NIL collectives or create a situation where NIL collectives start basically going back to what booster clubs used to be? I'm intrigued by that. But that is not the only thing that is on the agenda for these meetings. There are possible changes to the on-the-books current NIL systems and transfer portal policies that are enacted right now. In its meeting from the convention, in its meeting on the convention, the NCAA D1 Council is expected to review and adopt Proposal 2023-58 that addresses NIL athlete protections. These new concepts were announced in the fall. They will be discussed at length at the convention next week. They are, or at least part of them is, as follows. Number one, establishes a voluntary registration process for NIL professional service providers, such as agents and advisors. So basically, if you are going to work with these athletes, you can voluntarily, and I suspect down the road this will become mandatory, much like an agent for NFL players has to register with the NFL in order to represent a player. Like Tommy Stiletto, huh? You got to register. I suspect down the line that will happen. But for now, voluntary registration. A lot of guys are going to do it. You go, why would they do that, Rob? Well, the answer is because they're going to create effectively a directory. And if you go into that directory and you see that one agent is doing a great job getting guys NIL protections and benefits, you can start making sure that you are, as the NCAA, as conferences, and as individual schools, you can then help steer kids towards bona fide people in the game, right? You don't have to worry about them signing shady NIL deals with some guy in a trench coat. He claims he represents a local company, right? You can now get those players and go, hey, here's our book of guys, our NIL guys that have registered with us. If you are interested in representing this type of organization, this guy has represented our players in the past and done a good job. Go to him. He's your guy. If you are interested in repping this type of organization, go to that guy. Basically, it is a way for schools to be able to say, hey, players, these are the guys we know. These are the guys we trust. These are the guys we'd like you to get on board with, but it does not make it mandatory. Number two, making it mandatory for athletes to disclose to their schools NIL deals of $600 or more within 30 days of signing the agreement. No problem with this one either. I don't have an issue with athletes getting NIL deals. I don't have an issue with those NIL deals being reported to the school. I think, and this is one place that I have to some degree broken with some people on the NIL front, I absolutely think NIL should be done in the light, right? I think, in fact, I would even get rid of the $600 agreement. I think every NIL deal should have to be registered. I'm not saying the school should govern them. I'm not saying the school should blackball them. I don't think there should be restrictions on what guys can promote, with the exception of if you ain't 21, you can't promote alcohol. But outside of that, I don't really care.
Or nicotine if you're.
If you're under 18,
yeah,
no
there's-
cigarettes.
Yeah.
But if new Joey B is a 20-year-old college senior and he wants to promote a cigar that he puffs after a dub on the field, go ahead, big dog. Get that money. Get that bag. Your athletes ain't your role models. Okay? So I got no problem with that. But yes, I think these things should be done in the light. And that is one of the conversations that they are going to have. Creating a standardization or template for NIL contracts. Again, I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I do think you are going to have lawyers involved here because not all contracts are created equal, right? But to have a standardized contract so that kids aren't being taken by surprise, A, and B, so that schools can have advisors that go, look, here's how these contracts work, my dude. Don't get taken advantage of is a good thing. Developing a comprehensive educational plan for college athletes, future college athletes, agents, collectives, and advisors. This is not educational like getting a degree. This is an NIL educational plan. When you go to college, or at least it was this way for me. When I went to school my freshman year in collegiate times, we had obviously like our campus orientation, but so they had multiple mandatory educational classes that you as a freshman had to take, right? They had one for safety stuff. They had a like a sexual harassment class you had as a freshman to sign up for and go to. And it was on the record. You had to do these things. I don't have any issue with this. And especially considering, like, I know that when we think NIL, like all of us immediately go to the quarterback making 1.5 mil, and we don't think about the women's volleyball player who might sign one for $500, right? She gets $500 to do a one-off appearance at Bob's Used Cars or whatever. I got no problem with creating a standardized educational course so that these kids don't find themselves in a world where a lot of them are just kind of tossed in. Hey, man, go do your NIL stuff. They have at least a rough outline of what all this stuff looks like. I mean, I think it's good. I think to have the NCAA saying we are going to protect these athletes because it protects us, right? Protecting the athletes and making sure none of the athletes are getting screwed over out there creates a world where they are also protected, the NCAA itself. And I think that's a good thing. They will also be having some conversations about transfer policy changes. They are discussing serious and significant changes to the transfer policy. One of them is the possible abolishment of the year in residency penalty. That is, you may transfer as many times as you like, but after your second transfer, you have to sit out a year. That rule is still in place to this day. That may go away for everybody permanently. The NCAA D1 Council and Board of Directors will review a number of potential modifications, including the year in residency rule. They are discussing a new protocol that would require schools to develop a path to graduation for transfers and conduct an audit of academic performance on transfers. This is to say, you can't create a world where you're just grabbing whatever dudes. These schools now have to prove that they are creating paths for academic success for athletes. Because they are, as Alonzo loves to remind you all, student athletes at their core.
All right. This is completely shocking that they're concerned about grades. I mean, because I don't recall that ever being mentioned before.
I ain't come to play school.
Yeah. I mean, that's wow. That's refreshing. I don't buy that passing, but I mean, you know.
Oh, Cardale Jones. I ain't come to play school. Look, I do not think it is a facade that schools would like to be successful, and schools would like their athletes to be successful, right? Saw a lot of Clemson fans bragging over the last couple of days that Clemson had the highest graduation rate amongst athletes in the ACC. It's a nice point of, point of pride. Number 2, developing a new academic metric to measure a school's graduation rate for transfer athletes. So again, you can't just go grab every kid. You're going to have to meet certain metrics of making sure these kids that are transferring in are successful athletes as well. Most of y'all don't care about this. Number 3, amending the current revenue distribution model to require schools to meet academic benchmarks. Funds could be forfeited for failing to meet the benchmark.
Are these universal benchmarks, or are they according to whatever? I mean, if you're in the Big Ten or
These
SEC,
are discussions that have yet to be had, right? My suspicion is that they will end up being universal benchmarks. They will not be ridiculous. But the point here is you can't just go get a ton of athletes to bring them in as football or basketball or mercenaries, unleash them on the world of sports for a year, and not worry about it. They still want to have a focus on academics within the game. Now, you can call them out and say that is BS, and a lot of you will. But that's the discussion that they're having. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, yo, your natty is on Monday night. Who you like? Does defense win championships? I am going to tell you that this Monday is going to be a major feather in the cap for either the group that believes that defense wins championships or the group believes that is an outdated belief, cliche. I will address that when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Jesse, what's up, big dog? Skrilla, James, Kev, welcome in. Jacob, what's up, brother? Good to have you guys. All right, stepping away for just a minute, guys. We will be back in. Thanks for hanging out.
These are all natural treatments that can repair and restore that damaged tissue. Give you pain-free movement again. QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients around the country. People who had knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, who were able to get lasting relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. If you've got pain from an old injury or pain associated with arthritis, you need to check this out. The future of medicine is here. Regenerative treatments from QC Kinetics. Make the call now so you can get the most out of 2024. Get back to doing what you love. Don't forget, you can use your HSA and FSA funds. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772 in Greenville and in Asheville. 864-448-3772.
Now, during Staples Print Big Sale, get $20 off your print purchase of $100 or more, $50 off your print purchase of $200 or more, and $100 off your print purchase of $300 or more. So the more you print at Staples, the more you save. To demonstrate, print at Staples, you save. But if You print at Staples. You save. See how that works? Staples Print Big Sale. Print more, save more. Up to $100. Ends 2/10. Visit staples.com/print for details. From the Ingles.
How long has Harbaugh been at Michigan?
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
2015.
3 years for sure.
2015. College Football Playoff National Championship on Monday evening. Obviously, on Monday we'll be going mostly, not entirely, mostly wall to wall coverage of the NCAA College Football Playoff Championship. But let's jump into it. Let's jump into it a little early. Let's get to some of the highlights here. I said earlier in the show, I stand by it. I said earlier in the show, this game, as far as I am concerned, is going to be won or lost when Washington has the ball in the trenches. I think Michigan's going to be fine. Blake Corum is an absolute dude. He's unbelievable, okay? He's that good. His over-under rushing yardage in this game on the prop bet is listed at like right at 100 yards. And to me, I think it's an over. I think the second most popular bet on this game right now, based on the numbers I saw earlier this AM, was Blake Corum over 100 rushing yards. And he's going to get there. I don't have any doubt about that. I'll probably put some coin on that. But the question mark to me is very, very simple. The question mark to me is, can Washington's offensive line give Michael Penix Jr. time to throw the ball? If the answer is yes, Washington wins. If the answer is no, Michigan wins. Now we'll get into some of the other X's and O's, some of the other things that are going to have an impact. But to me, that is the number one question. We'll talk turnovers. We'll talk coaching. DeBoer and Harbaugh. That's a great coaching matchup. Both of these guys have done a wonderful job this year of tinkering in game. Listen, I said I was blown away during the Michigan v. Alabama semifinal game. I was blown away because at halftime of a tied football game, a back and forth football game, I asked the question on Twitter. I put up a Twitter poll. The Twitter poll was, who do you trust with in-game adjustments more in the second half, Jim Harbaugh or Nick Saban? I put that poll up for 1 hour because I wanted it over before the end of the game. In 1 hour, that poll got just shy of 200 votes. 91% of the people who voted in that poll said they trusted Nick Saban to make the in-game adjustments more than they trusted Jim Harbaugh. That blew my mind. Because Nick Saban is not a dude that is necessarily known for incredible in-game adjustments. He's known for having you beat in the spring. He's known for putting together a comprehensive game plan to have you beat a week before they play you. Remember, coming into the playoffs, one of the questions, if you listen to more than a couple of shows, one of the, I should say, statements that was made about Nick Saban going into that game was, Nick Saban with a month to prepare, right? Pardon me. That was listed by those who thought Alabama was going to win as one of, if not the primary reason that they would do so. Because giving Nick Saban 3 weeks to prepare means he's got you. He knows you better than you know you. But when it got to the second half, who made the adjustments to win that game? Michigan did. It was Michigan that changed up. Look, they still brought pressure across the front seven, but it was Michigan that changed up how they did it. Pressure started coming from different spots. Jalen Milroe did not know how to handle it. It was Michigan offensively that tinkered enough to extend drives and keep Alabama away from making a run. Now, that game did end up going to overtime, but Michigan in overtime had the better game plan ready to go, right? But Caleb DeBoer got into some good ones as well. So I think that there is a coaching matchup here that might be the best one in football's postseason. Saban is there because he's Saban. Saban is there because he puts together excellent game plans. But because that game was close at halftime, Harbaugh outcoached him. Over in the other game, Steve Sarkisian, I got zero trust in Steve Sarkisian. I love the story. I love that this guy was able to come back from what happened to Steve. You remember Steve Sarkisian was coaching at, where was it? Where was he before he got fired? Because he was having issues with alcohol addiction. He got fired. He got brought to Nick Saban's house for rehabilitating coaches in Tuscaloosa. He got clean. He got his life right. And then he got the head coaching job at Texas. But I'm going to be straight up with you. Texas made a lot of, I'm going to call them, very questionable coaching decisions down the stretch. That last touchdown Texas scored, no reason not to go for two. No reason not to go for two. It's a one-score game either way. But if it's successful, there's a situation where you end up down 7 instead of 8. And now you go touchdown extra point. You at least put yourself in position that a PAT sends you to OT, not you have to have a 2-point conversion for it. So I'm not a big Steve Sark guy. I think DeBoer showed in that game that he had, and I mean this maybe even more than Saban, I think Caleb DeBoer for Washington had the best game plan ready of any of the 4 teams in the playoffs. So I love all that. These are all fun things. These are all X's and O's stuff we need to talk about. But man, when it comes down to it, Zoe, your thoughts on this? The game to me is going to be decided by Michigan's defensive line versus Washington's offensive line and Michael Penix Jr. That's the whole game.
I agree. The thing is, I think if Washington can get up by 2 scores, Michigan's in trouble. I'm not saying it's easy, and coin toss could help decide the game, because if Washington wins the coin toss, they're going to take the ball first, which they should. I do not trust Michigan's quarterback to lead them back to a victory. I do not trust that.
I don't think anybody thinks J.J. McCarthy needs to do anything. J.J. McCarthy needs to do what he did against Alabama, right? Don't make mistakes. I don't need you to make hero ball plays. I don't need you to be Michael Penix Jr. If they try to have J.J. McCarthy match Michael Penix Jr., you're right. They're in trouble. But here's why I do think this is about how many points can Washington score. Michigan's going to score, and they're going to score on the ground. In fact, I would go so far as to say the only way Michigan is in trouble is if they get down 2 scores very late in the game. That's where if they get down 2 scores at a spot where they've got to conserve seconds, then they're in trouble. That is where the mistakes happen, because Washington's defensive backs are good. They won then that game against Texas. That's where they won the game, the DB. Their defensive backs are good, but that defense is awful against the run. 121st nationally against the run. Blake Corum is going to carry. I'm not kidding. Blake Corum's going to carry the ball 28 times in this game, right? That dude is going to have the tread worn off the tires based on what he's about to do. So because of that, I very much think that Michigan is going to score plenty of points. The over in this game, by the way, 56.5. The reason in a game that I have no doubt Michigan's going to score points because they're going to run through the wet napkin of a defense that is Washington's run stuffing game. Michigan's going to be in the mid-20s to low 30s. The question mark is, will Washington do theirs? And a lot of people think, because they saw what Washington did against Texas, that the answer is an obvious yes. Roma Dunze, they get their starting running back, Corey Dillon, back. Michael Penix Jr. was second in the Heisman vote. A lot of people think he should have won it. Offensively, they got a ton of firepower. The problem is Even in a good Pac-12 this year, Michigan is easily and far and away the best defense that they have faced this year. And they've had some games, though, where they put 15, 22, 24 on the board against far lesser defenses than Michigan.
This is weird because, until recently, all you hear about is how bad the Big Ten is, and the schedule they faced was so easy, and now everything they do is vaunted and amazing. So which is it?
It's the first to me. Part of the reason, okay.
If that's true, then they haven't faced an offense like this before, and they're in trouble.
Michigan?
Yeah.
They absolutely have not.
Right. So that means they're in trouble because the Big Ten was so bad and top heavy, and they took care of the only team that could have beat them. And so now it should be, the narrative is weird to me. Either they're really good and have been really good all year, which they have been, or they're not that good because they play in a conference that isn't that good.
All right. I don't think that's necessarily true. And I'm going to lean back on.
You put me in a position where I'm defending Michigan, and I don't like it.
I know you are. I do. I'm going to lean back on this. I've said in the past, if I brought down the Kansas City Chiefs and I put them in the Mountain West Conference, they're in a bad conference. They are still the best team in college football. This is part of the reason that I do not love some conferences getting bonus points as far as who gets in and who doesn't. Because you can still have the best team. But just like Jaden Daniels was the best player not on the best team, best player in college football, playing on a very mid team at LSU. So the way I would address it is this. Number one, is Michigan getting some amount of love because their defense is very good? Yes, their defense is very good, even playing a bunch of bad offenses in the Big Ten. And there are, I would say, every offense in the Big Ten, with the exception of Ohio State, Michigan, and I'll say borderline Maryland, every offense in the Big Ten was bad. Y'all got Iowa. Okay? So their defense is good. I think they are boosted because of the fact that there's no offense in the Big Ten, but the defense is still very good. On the flip side, as we all know, whether you like it or not, no matter who got where in the playoffs, they're going to be hyped as one of the greatest blanks you've ever seen. Why? Because that's how you get people excited to watch the game, right? That's how you get people to watch the game. So when Michigan got in, the narrative was immediately and always going to be they're unquestionably good everywhere. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take a couple of minutes today to go check in on some college football national championship previews and find out how many times when you are looking at ESPN write-ups specifically, how many folks are bringing up Washington's run defense against Blake Corum? They might in passing, but nobody's hyping on it because it kind of makes it feel like Michigan's a heavy favorite. There's a reason they're a touchdown favorite in this game. You've got to sell it because you've got to sell the game on TV. Both things are true. Michigan's defense is very good, but they are statistically inflated because they have not played an offense as good as Washington's. Washington in the Big Ten would have had the best offense in the Big Ten this year. And I include Michigan in that. Washington's offense is better than Michigan's. Michigan's run game is better.
I guess we'll see next year.
Yeah, we will. Same with Oregon, by the way. Sans check down Bo. Well, we'll see. This game to me, Michigan's defensive line versus Michael Penix Jr. Texture says Michigan hasn't played a good quarterback all year. I mean, the best they played was probably Kyle McCord, maybe Talia Tungavailoa at Maryland, but Maryland doesn't have any skill position players near Rome and gang for the Huskies.
I completely agree with the texter.
I'm not going to disagree with it at all. All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, the quarterback of this show, the quarterback of this station, the quarterback of your hearts is Lonzo.
Come on, we all know I'm the low snap center who has to transfer somewhere else. That's just me. All right, the first round of the NBA All-Star voting has concluded. 2 players received more than 2 million votes. LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo That's as close as I can get. Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, and Tyrese Halliburton were the only other players to receive over $1 million. The NHL All-Star rosters are out. Sidney Crosby headed to his 10th All-Star game, along with reigning league MVP Connor McDavid, star rookie Connor Bedard, and defending champion captain Jack Eichel. Sebastian Aho is the first representative from the Hurricanes. We are your home for Furman basketball. Tune in tomorrow night at 6:30 as the Paladins take on the Chattanooga Mocs right here on your home for Furman Paladin Sports, The Fan, Upstate.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line in the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/free. Ramp.com/free. RAMP.com/free.
I don't know, Zach. I really don't. I think he's got to be an improvement over McCord. I mean, I feel bad for guys who are already there thinking they were going to get the job. That's the transfer portal era that we live in. We'll see. Admittedly, I don't know enough about the guy to pass too much judgment. And however good he is, he's not going to beat Michigan because Ryan Day is still the coach. So there's that. I don't want to ask Rob. I'm not going to do it, Zach.
Here's a string topic of conversation. The other day, well, for Christmas, my soon-to-be brother-in-law and I have a running gag between each other where we buy each other stupid gifts, but we put our faces on them. He bought me, in what is right now the clubhouse leader for best gift, a pair of boxers covered in hearts and his face. It's very funny. I like him a lot.
That's kind of disturbing.
It is, and that's why it's
disturbing for somebody else.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
and she brought that up.
Yeah, that's not.
So,
yeah.
I went the other day and was looking. We went, where we go? Target or something. There was like a pair of funny boxers, and she's like, "Why would you get those?" And I was like, "Because they make me laugh." And she goes, "You are the only person besides me who's ever gonna see them." And I was like, "Yeah, but it makes me laugh."
I have a bunch of boxers that make me laugh.
Yeah,
I
me
mean,
too.
just because you know.
Me too. And she was like, "Funny boxers aren't like they don't need to be a thing." She's like, "Because they're not going to make me laugh. They're only for you." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that's good enough, right? Like that's good enough."
All that being said, that's messed up. That's very messed up.
I opened them in front of her entire family, and I died laughing. 100% would pay to watch this. 100% would pay to watch it. Look at that lady charging. Oh, she took the charge. Flop. That's a flop. Granny basketball is on TV.
Yeah, I'm not down for that kind of carnage.
10 of 10 would watch.
No way.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the third hour of the Rob Brown radio broadcast begins right now. Welcome back, friends, to the show that ends at 10 a.m. As a matter of fact, we go 6 to 10 every single day, mainly because at that point I'm tired and want to go home. I am Rob Brown, the great Alonzo on the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM. Should you elect to be a part of the radio program, now's a wonderful time. 844-326-3663. Text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-M. We'll read them on the air, FAN, F-A-N, and we shall read them on the air.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Is the question that I asked during the break, because as we sat here and watched one of the major sports networks highlight shows during the hour break, I was introduced to something that I did not know was taking place.
Nope.
But I will subscribe to their Twitch now. I will watch every game that they put on television forever.
Nope.
I was unaware of the existence of granny basketball. Yep. I said what I said.
That's just, I mean, I guess if you're into pratfalls and things like that, I mean, I'm okay with that kind of humor on occasion, but I prefer more intellectual humor. You're not watching that for the skill. You're hoping that granny breaks her hip. And that's that's just wrong. Oh, there's another hip. Oh, there's another hip.
During the break, a clip was shown of granny basketball, which was 5 seasoned citizens per side playing full court basketball at a rate of speed comparable to me on Ambien and Jägermeister at the same time.
It's like watching 7-year-olds play rec league basketball, except it's the same skill level, same speed.
That lady had an excellent dribble drive to the block and was about to hit I would call it jump shot, more of standing still shot.
When your vert is in centimeters, no, I'm not interested.
I'm all in. I'm all in on granny basketball. That is just competition at its finest, man.
Those were stereotypical grandmas. All grandmas don't look like that. All of them had grandma hairdos, which I don't know when that happens either. When you decide, oh, grandma got to change my hair to look like that. I don't know.
About the same time you start asking your grandkids about their movements, I would guess. I'm all in. I'm all in on the spirit of competition that is granny basketball. I don't know if you've ever, my grandma and I play cards. She likes to play cards. The family will sit around, we play cards. We'll play poker, but we have buttons, not money, because you're not allowed to gamble.
Yeah.
But you can play cards with buttons.
Family big into cards. Euchre was a big thing growing up.
Yep.
Yeah.
We play all kinds of games. We'll play Go Fish if the young cousins are there. We'll play poker if it's the older cousins. Big in cards. And I will tell you that when we are playing cards, my grandma is a killer. She's a killer.
Yeah, but
she wants to see the torment on your face when she destroys you with a straight flush off the flop.
Especially with your expressions. I don't blame her.
She wants to kill you.
That brings me joy every day, so I can't imagine what it does for her.
Oh, you better believe it. She loves it. She is a stone cold murderer when the 52 come out, right? It's unbelievable. You give me that level of competition, but on the basketball court, if LeBron and Giannis had the level of competition that Grandma Deanie does when she's playing 5-card poker against her grandkids, the NBA would be the most watched league in the world.
I would say those guys probably do. I mean, maybe the next level of guys probably don't, but
I don't
those
think they
guys-
do.
Really? Okay.
That's how competitive it gets.
Does she cheat?
I haven't caught her yet. I know she wins a lot.
I'm one of the few people I know that caught one of my uncles cheating and he kicked me out of the yard. And he wanted me to back down and I would not. It's like, you cheated. I saw you cheat.
I want to ask what happened, but you've told me stories.
Oh no. I'm walking out of the yard, head held high, and he said, come on back, because I was the only one who would stand up to it.
Texture said, do you know who the Granny League MVP will be? It depends.
I had a feeling it would be along those lines because you really enjoyed it that much.
Texture said, Rob is watching it for the babes.
Wow, just scoping out.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. That's fantastic.
So, I mean, that's elderly abuse, what I saw.
No, it's not. They
Yeah.
are full-grown adults who want to play basketball.
I hope they're well
They're-
paid. I hope
listen,
they make more money there than they do, as a
The
greeter.
fact that you and I would probably be like competitive at best in that league does not diminish the fact that they are autonomous in their decision to play ball. Good on them.
No, I'd end up in prison or something because, I'll charge Granny full and I don't care how old she
Hey,
is.
that granny took a charge and she earned it.
Is that
All
what
right?
you want to call that?
They
I was
showed
like,
one during the break.
that's
She
like
took a solid charge.
falling in slow motion is still, it's still falling.
I mean, a charge is a charge, buddy.
As I ask my mom all the time when she gets hurt for falling down, it's like, you're 4 foot tall. How do you get, it's not that far of a fall. How are you getting hurt? I mean, I know that sounds mean, but
It does.
do you get what I'm saying? When you're not falling that far. And that lady was not falling that far. She had to be what, 5'2", 5'3", something like that.
Hey, listen, good form. She got to her ground. She planted both feet.
It looked like
She leaned backwards. That's a good charge.
looked like a Tim Conway, Harvey Korman skit.
It's a good
That's
charge.
what it looked like.
It's a good charge. Well acted, good charge. All right, hour number 3 is underway, ladies and gentlemen. Will Howard, former Kansas State quarterback, is on his way to The Ohio State University, said yesterday that he has committed via the transfer portal to be the Buckeyes' likely starting quarterback when the 2024 season rolls around. And
Did he say how much money he got paid?
he did not.
I'm curious about that.
He's the starting quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Oh, there's
I
money.
believe.
There's like nationwide money around there.
Oh,
So
for sure.
yeah, and Wendy's. There's some
Wendy's?
yeah, Wendy's.
Is that a Columbus-based chain?
It is.
Is
Yeah.
it really?
Yeah, it is. So it's nationwide. So yeah, they're on your side, those guys. It used to be the test market capital of the world. Columbus
I've heard that
did.
before.
Yeah, so
I've heard that before.
which was pretty cool working in a grocery store because they would come up with new stuff and then they'd bring it out. Or you go to a restaurant like Wendy's or Bob Evans, which I believe is still headquartered there, and get to try all the new stuff.
I've heard that before.
So there's money in Columbus. That's
And I will
I'm
tell
just
you-
curious if there's 1.5 to $2 million worth of money according to Matt Rule.
I think I would be very, very happy to live in a fast food chain test market, right? Where they give you the weird stuff. I would 100% sign up for that.
Oh, I was the first one. Like, yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah. So Lonzo said something during the break that I thought was interesting. And I thought it was interesting.
Which is a
because
rarity for me. So, I mean.
No, it's not. You say a lot of interesting things. It's just most of them can't be brought up on air.
That's implying that anyway.
I was interested because we were having a conversation about Will Howard signing with the Buckeyes, and somebody in the stream chat, which you can watch at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, YouTube by searching and subscribing to the Fan Upstate, or Twitch by searching and subscribing to the Rob Brown Show. We got into that conversation on the stream off the air, and Lonzo brought up in a roundabout way, because he is, if nothing else, a bleeding heart.
It was Zach, by the way.
Okay. Lonzo brought up on the air because he is, if nothing else, a bleeding heart, full of compassion and kindness. The indirectly feelings and emotions of the other quarterbacks already on the roster who believed that they would probably have an opportunity to be the starting quarterback for Ryan Day's Buckeyes next year, because they will be Ryan Day's Buckeyes next year. And I had I thought,
Collective
reaction to that.
yawn.
I mean, multiple consecutive 11-1 seasons ain't bad.
Wow.
But we're
when's
not
the last time we won the Big Ten? When's the last time we beat Michigan? Anyhow.
4 years ago. So
You may not go down that road, but any chance I get, I'm going to point it out.
yeah, we know. So he brought up the feelings indirectly of the other Buckeye quarterbacks on the roster who thought they might have a shot at competing to be QB1 next year for one of the most recognizable college football programs in the world. And I actually think that's a good conversation to have. That's a fair conversation to have. And I think the fair conversation to have about it is this. That is part of that third element of recruiting that I have discussed how many times on the air.
I'm waiting for you to say, life sucks, kid. I mean, that's to be better. That's what I'm waiting for you to say.
No, what I'm going to say is that is part of it. The recognition, the realization that not only will there always be somebody better than you at whatever you do, there are very, very few people in the world who accomplish a level of skill at their trade that they are unquestionably the best in the world at it. But when it comes to athletics, that number is very, very short, very, very small, right? So this is kind of part of the concept of that third branch of recruiting I've talked about. Number one, getting guys to your team. Number two, getting guys out of the portal to your team. And number three, getting guys on your team to stay on your team. And keep in mind, you are not just recruiting the guys on your team, you're recruiting the guys that may come to your team down the line, because here's the reality. If every year, this is something I'm interested to see how it develops at Florida State, a team that leaned very heavily on the portal this year. If you bring a bunch of guys out of the portal every year to come in and they're starters, well, if you're talking to a recruit, and let's not say like a 5-star blue chipper, let's say like maybe a good 3-star or a middle of the road 4-star. If you're talking to a guy you're trying to recruit into your program and he looks at a program that consistently brings in guys like him who then get consistently leaped over by portal guys, right? Like Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. If you're recruiting a 4-star quarterback you think could be the guy down the line, but he's looking at one in the fold who just got jumped by a transfer quarterback, that guy might be skittish and go, I don't know if I feel comfortable going to Columbus. And I'm using Ohio State as the illustration in this example, but not the only one.
Even though I joked about it, Ohio State has a pretty good record of either bringing in a quarterback like Justin Fields, who was at Georgia, coming in and doing well, or losing some quarterbacks that go other places and do well, like Joe Burrow.
Sure.
I mean, so I think whether I'm happy with what Ryan Day has done at Ohio State, I think he's like other coaches, like Urban Meyer, like some other guys, like Tressel. They're pretty good at evaluating at least the quarterback position and receivers.
I don't disagree. But again, my question mark or my statement is, I think one of the things we are going to learn as we get deeper into the transfer portal era is that the more you lean on the portal, and this is a guess of mine, it's a thought, but the more certain teams begin to lean on the portal, the more they are going to become portal reliant. Because if you've got a bunch of guys that come in every year and replace guys that you recruited to come be a Buckeye out of high school, but they're constantly being passed on the depth chart by guys that were elsewhere and moved over. Well, if I am a recruit in high school and the Buckeyes come calling and I go as a good but not guaranteed blue chip recruit out of high school, if I'm sitting there watching a ton of guys like me constantly be jumped by portal players over and over, it kind of makes me less interested in your school because I know the direction you're willing to go. Like I said, Mike Norvell at Florida State, I'm interested in. Florida State's losing a bunch of portal players. Part of the reason why is that a lot of these guys are recruits that got brought to Tallahassee and then watched all these portal players come in and take up the starting role. It might get difficult. It hasn't shown up in the rankings yet.
This is going to be his hardest year because he brought all those guys in. They went undefeated and they didn't make they didn't make the playoffs. So I think you look at going, yeah, I could go in there, but what am I going to get to do after the season's over? And maybe that stops some people from going
and
there.
That's a huge part of it. And that's going to be part of
have
what
they
Mike Norvell-
created a portal coach yet? So the one you're sitting in your coaches meeting, you're going around, you're talking there, how's the offense look? How's the defense look? You talk to the portal guy. Okay. That guy's just looking at the portal overall and finding out what players are available, what's the rumors of those players being available, what's it going to look like next year. Because it's basically like a draft to a degree.
It is kind of.
I mean, as that position hasn't been officially made
draft,
yet.
It's free agency. Call it what it is.
It is free agency, but when is that going to be a thing? Could you be a portal coach, Rob? Could you go? I'm. That's all you're doing. You're sitting there. You're combing over all
It's a recruiter. That's all it is. You're a recruiter.
But
it is literally the same thing. I am looking through a list of available players. I am determining their talent level, how they fit in with our program. Then I'm getting on the horn.
It's a different level of recruiting though, because you're not recruiting a high school guy. You're recruiting a guy who's already been recruited before.
Right. You're still recruiting. Right? Like it's a guy who has been recruited. So you probably can't, not that anybody does this, you're not going to be able to pull any slick moves on a guy like you would like a college kid who's going through his first recruitment. It's kind of like dating somebody who's divorced. You ever dated somebody who's been married before? You don't play the same games with somebody who's been married before versus somebody who's just getting into the dating scene. They've been there. They've done that. They got the t-shirt. They know your games, you slippery little son of a you-know-what. It's a different world.
Wow, that sounded personal.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, so going back to what I'm thinking here, like I said, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on portal-built teams, Florida State being the illustration here. Does it become harder to recruit kids out of high school that are not blue-chip top 5-star recruits because they know that, hey, man, as soon as somebody pops up in the portal at my position, that's coming out of a different school to go there, I'll never get to start. Like being a quarterback at Ohio State right now, does it make it more difficult for those teams to recruit down the line because those good but not great recruits that make up the majority of your roster suddenly start getting scared about coming there because they know that they will be replaced the moment someone else at their position hops in the portal?
America.
We'll talk about that more later on in the show. But when we come back, it's a slow transition out of football season into basketball season, but it's a transition we are beginning to make. Hating-ass Mario Herron from the BetQL Network joins us next. He is our NBA analyst. He will talk some shooty hoops with us when we return, including Victor's big night last night, and how it is that Nikola Jokic can be the best big man in basketball and look like he wants to nap all the time.
You're going to wait till it gets to the end? Come on.
What are we doing?
Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we're going to get Mario lined up. We'll be back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. What's up, big dog?
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing, partner?
Doing good. How about you?
Oh, it's another day in paradise. Ready to talk some basketball, buddy. Still trying to get back in the groove after a 4-day week, but 2.5 weeks of vacation. I'm not there yet.
I get it, man. I think this week is like that for like everyone, where it's like everyone's trying to get back from like the holidays and
Yeah, like doing the show and keeping the momentum of the show going is one thing over the course of the holidays. Doing it when you did not burn your vacation days through the year and you used them all up at the end, rough. I told myself this year I'm going to use more vacation days throughout the year and I'll take less of a lengthy vacation at the end of the year.
You won't.
No, I have to, because at least 1 week I'm going to use around the wedding in September.
How many you get now?
3 weeks.
Okay.
15 days. 15 plus 2 personal. So really 17. And I burned 10 of them. No. I burned 8 of them plus the 2 personal days at the end of the year. And my life is not back together yet.
I take 1 vacation per quarter and 2 in the last quarter, and you could do that too if you planning.
Yeah, the problem is I do this. I don't know if I'm the only one that does this.
When you get older, you're less spontaneous. So
And
that could be,
that's it for
yeah.
me, is that there's so many things that pop up and I'm like last minute, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that. But I need to take a couple of days. So I don't like to use them just because I don't want to be in a spot where something awesome happens in November, but I have 1 vacation day left. And on top of that, knowing that at either Thanksgiving or Christmas, I got to travel to Florida for the holidays. I don't want to have Friday off and it's a 2-day trip.
And there's some people watching right now who don't get, a single vacation day. And you're bragging about how many
Mario
you
gets
get.
a vacation day. We let him have a day off every now and then.
dude, I got 3 weddings this week. I mean, not this week, but this year, and they're
I
all
was
in
like,
like
good Lord.
no, but they're all like across the country. Like one's in California, one's in South Carolina, and then the others in Indy.
Well, it's a good
and
thing
then
they
New
pay
York.
you those airline ticket salaries up there at BetQL.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Wait, you mean you don't get paid more when you're doing, national level stuff? Wow, I've been lied to.
They just like to kick you in the nuts a little bit more.
Just when you thought that wasn't possible.
I was ready to do a big introduction, really come in with some gusto there.
What's stopping you? I'm wishing the good people of the upstate of South Carolina good morning.
That I now have both of my producers on at the same time, and they have developed an unspoken desire to both get after me.
I don't want to
show out to each
I'm
other.
going to speak for Mario here and say I don't know when you got ownership over either one of us. When you say
True.
my. Yeah, I mean that.
All right, how do you describe me? A host that I work with?
A is a good word.
That is. On Fridays at this point in time, we bring in a young man that I get the pleasure of spending 4 hours with every Saturday on our syndicated show, Bet for the Cycle, which airs from noon to 4 on Saturdays on the BetQL network. He is also a basketball analyst, insider, expert, whatever words you want to call him for the BetQL network. My guy, Mario Heron, with us. We call him the hating ass one to talk a little basketball. What's up, big dog?
What's up, Rob? I mean, how are you feeling? Your Pelicans are on a win streak right now.
Yeah,
Zion
they
looks
are.
good. Yeah, so like you gotta be a little hyped up right now. Believe in the Pelicans again.
No, I don't, because every time they do this, I finally get hype. I throw $100 at a money line win, and then they end up losing to freaking Detroit for no reason.
Yeah, that's the ups and downs of the NBA season, and sometimes you gotta take the faults with the good times, and that's just the good old Willie Green. That's just what you gotta say.
Ugh.
God bless that guy.
Ugh. Dude, I'm so over that guy. I am. Like, it's not that he's losing games. It's that we lose games in the dumbest possible ways, right? I'll take you back, 2 weeks ago. Ja Morant, and I want to talk about this, so I'll segue into it. Ja Morant comes back for the Grizz. The first game back, he's on the road down in New Orleans, Louisiana. The Pelicans are in charge of that game from the tip till 35 seconds left. And all of a sudden, a fourth quarter 12-point lead evaporates, and the Grizz have it tied up. Here comes Ja Morant. Here comes 12. There's like 13 seconds left in the game. And we just let Ja Morant, fresh Ja Morant, dribble down the floor, go one-on-one ISO against, I don't know, it wasn't even like Herb Jones. It wasn't even one of our better defenders. One-on-one and go four corners ISO offense instead of going, why don't we make them kick it to anybody but Ja Morant for a game-winning effort? Hey, if they get a shot up, they get a shot up. And I'm just going, what the hell are we doing? What is this? What is this? How many they're doing with Coach Ham and the Lakers right now? The Lakers keep losing games in like the stupidest ways possible. I will never understand why it is the NBA keeps having these retread. Detroit, like 60% of Detroit's problems is that they've hired a coach who's failed 3 times as NBA head coach. What are we doing?
It really makes no sense. And in that Pelicans-Grizzlies game, there was a beautiful thing that Willie Green did where Ja was bringing up the floor. I believe this was in the fourth quarter, and he goes, we're just going to trap as soon as he crosses half court. And they literally go to trap. Jaren Jackson just cuts middle, and he scores. And it's like, hey, if you're going to trap like right off the bat, maybe cover the middle of the freaking floor and not have the tallest man cut right across everyone and score. I mean, that one right there is when I almost texted you. I said, hey, I think this Willie Green guy doesn't really know what he's doing. But I thought, you know what? Rob Brown is going to be on vacation. He's going to be really, really happy. I don't want to ruin his time. So I just was like, you know what? I'll let this go and hopefully be like, hey, he'll be happy. So I tried to make you happy.
Let me tell you how bad it was. It was so bad I was on the couch with my mom. Now, my mom knows basketball because of me, because I've been playing it since I was a child, because I watch it when I'm home. She knows ball because of me. Like, she knows Zion and not much else about the Birds, right? And she was on the couch, and she, out of nowhere, as we watched this game, just goes, that was bad. I'm like, yep, it was. It was, ma'am. So that's a struggle. Now, let's flip to the other side of that equation so that I stop being sad. The Memphis Grizzlies get Ja Morant back. They are now 2-0 in New Orleans against my Pellies since that point in time, but they got a hot run. Is this Memphis team a play-in team with Ja Morant back in the mix? Because it feels like it, but you're also talking about a guy coming off a 25-game suspension with the freshest legs of any all-star in the league. Do they have the long-term stamina to be a play-in team or maybe a playoff team?
Honestly, just where they're at right now, I truly don't see it. Like, I just don't, right? Like, they're 4.5 games back right now of the Utah Jazz, and that's, like, not a bad club. They got a lot of guys that are young, so 1, they're not going to miss a lot of games. 2, they're very well coached. And pending any trade move, they're probably going to stay exactly where they're at. Now, if they decide to sell, obviously, and Laurie Marketing gets traded or Colin Sexton gets traded, that will change, and maybe the Grizzlies can even move up from them. But in front of that is the Warriors, the Lakers, the Suns, and the Rockets. Okay, Ime's sure as hell not going to lose any games. He's going to get that play-in spot. He's going to try to get a playoff spot. Yeah, the Lakers, LeBron's going to call Rob Pelinka and go, hey, buddy, I need a move. And Rob Pelinka's going to go, I got you, my friend. I'm going to go get you another defender, go get you another shooter that we desperately need. And the Lakers are going to get desperate and they're going to make a move. And Pelinka's, if LeBron's not controlling him, he usually makes a good amount of moves. Then you have the Warriors, who are a veteran-leaded team. They're going to get Draymond back. Let's say Draymond is the Draymond that's under control.
No, let's not say that.
Even if he's not that, even if they stay with the small ball lineup, they don't do anything with Wiggins. They still have young guys that have actually proved to play some really good minutes for the Warriors. So if they decide to go that in a couple of games, like, they could squeak out. There's just too many teams that are good and are going to get better, I think that's going to stop the Grizzlies from ever moving up. And if they do move up, I think it's because John Morant has gone on this amazing shooting spree and their defense vastly improves. And then Desmond Bane's even shooting the ball really well. Jaren Jackson has a couple more 40-point games. I think a lot of things need to fall right for the Grizzlies to move up. There's just too many talented teams, too many veteran-leaded teams above them to move.
We're talking with Mario Herron from BetQL, our NBA expert here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. One of the things I'm really interested in, I'm looking at the Western Conference standings right now. Dude, there is, and I don't know if it's being talked about enough or not enough or what, but like what a youth movement we got in the league right now, right? Like we've still got the Steph Currys and the LeBron Jameses and these guys that are kind of old guard for us. But man, we have got a youth movement going on across the league. Points are up, scoring is up, scoring efficiency is up. And I do not think I don't think it's because defense is down. I think we have had in the last 2 seasons one of the best young crops of players we have had in a very long time, and it's fun to watch.
It's extremely fun to watch, and to that point, too, you see the NBA is playing at a faster pace, and the faster pace goes towards the young guys, right? Like, it's not the older guys that kind of benefit from that. It's the younger guys. And you have SGA who's taken off this year. And if you didn't watch the Celtics Thunder game from this past week, I believe it was on Tuesday, I advise you to go back and watch that game because the way he dissected and dominated that Celtics defense was truly amazing. Don't watch the closing 2 minutes of him. It kind of slipped a little bit, but that's just kind of like with a young guy. That's just kind of what happens, especially in the regular season, to get those kinks out before the playoffs. But he had 36 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists on the Celtics, and he drove whenever he wanted. He's an exceptional talent. You have Anthony Edwards, who's leading the Timberwolves right now, the top of the place in the Western Conference, and their schedule going to get a little tough. They have the Clippers coming up. They have the Celtics coming up. They have the Magic, even though they're Magic's really, really sucking right now. But they still have the Magic right now. That's a very young, talented team. They still have the Mavericks that they play this Sunday. They have the Rockets tonight. So they have a really tough stretch coming up. So we'll see what the Timberwolves are really made of. But this young era that we have right now is coming, and they're coming fast. And we always talk about, like, there's a year with NBA teams where you're not ready, but you're in the playoffs, and then you're ready. And I would say there's like 2 to 3 teams that are really young that I'm like, dude, I think they're ready this year to make a run. And if you're the Clippers, who are kind of older, I would be probably shaking in my boots, not getting any sleep, and peeing down my leg every time I look at another one they got.
You mentioned a couple of guys there, and there's a few more I wanted to talk about. SGA being one of them, plus 400 right now to be your NBA MVP. But the 2 guys that have the shortest odds, Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, both are plus 250. Last night, Nikola Jokic was incredible. I mean, incredible in that game. He makes it look so frustratingly easy, but also at the same time looks like a guy that could take a nap on the bench at any given moment if he had a second. But so I said last year, I thought last year Nikola Jokic was the league MVP. My man wins the finals. Like, I think he was the guy, but I felt like they politicked that award to Joel Embiid. I felt like having Jokic win it 3 times in a row, a lot of people got fatigued by that. This year, dude, it feels like Joel Embiid might win that thing genuinely and outright. He's on a tear. Give me your winner between right now the 3 shortest odds, SGA, Embiid, and Jokic. I know, right?
Yeah, it's so I think Jokic is out no matter what. Like, I just think if you're a betting man, I think don't take anything Jokic. Jokic he's had his MVPs and they're gone. Like, that's it. Like you said, the voter fatigue thing. That's it. Take that home with your horses. If I had to go,
I don't know why you said that either. Good break, good thought.
Yeah, I'm pondering that. It's just, you know.
All right, keep going.
Gosh, I would have to go, if I'm being completely honest with you, for MVP, I would go Thunder. I'd go SGA. You got to go with SGA, I think, in this one, just the step he's made. 31.4 points per game this year. That's 3rd in the NBA. He's shooting 54.6 from the field. The team lives and dies by him. The one thing I will say about Embiid is, yes, does he deserve MVP? Yeah, he definitely does. There's multiple guys that do. But I think the exurgence of Embiid, and also the MVP is a lot of how good your team is. And the Sixers obviously look very, very good this year. I think it's also to Nick Nurse. I think that almost kind of takes away, in a way, like the success of the team and the success of Embiid, where it's like, all right, I can also say this team's a lot better because of the things that Nick Nurse has been doing this year, because of the things they've been installed in that team that they didn't have last year with Doc Rivers. With SGA, you go, dude, this guy is taking a step with this team going, now it's time to contend. Now it's time to be one of the bigger dogs in the Western Conference. And he shows up every single night. He plays his ass off. He's one of the better players in the NBA. He's one of the better players at finishing at the rim. He's one of the better players. His 3-point shots get in there, and it's improving throughout the season. I would give it to SGA. Would I bet on it? Yeah, I would, because I think the Timberwolves are going to slip a little bit. And if they take the 1 spot in the Western Conference, there's going to be a flood of money for Oklahoma City and flood for money for SGA. So that number 1 spot for MVP, that means a lot.
So right now over in the West, it is the Timberwolves that are sitting in the driver's seat right now. The Thunder are just a game behind at 23-10. The Nuggets, the 3rd seed right now, a half game back of them. The Clippers, Kings, Pelicans, Mavericks, Rockets fill out the top 8. And then there's the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker is a guy that I absolutely fell in love with last year as a player. And then this year, like, the Suns just ain't it. They just climbed back to over 500. They're 18-16. The chemistry is falling apart. What is going on with this Phoenix team? Why is it that Devin Booker has disappeared from posters everywhere?
So, you might call me crazy. I don't blame it on Booker at all. I don't blame it on Book. I blame it on this bench that I think is absolutely underperformed to a T. They're 26th in points per game. They're 22nd in net rating. They're 24th in offensive rating. The only thing they're good at is playing defense, but that's not going to get it done. So I look at this Suns team. I look at the struggles they have, and I don't blame it on that. I blame it on a bench that's just underperforming, that they're probably going to need, again, to pick up some type of move. And you don't have really a lot to, I guess, send or offer to other teams. So that's going to be tough. And then also I said this earlier in the year. I made this bet with my brother. I go, Bradley Beal's going to miss more games than Anthony Davis. Because he was like a big, they got it. He's like, Beal's finally on a good team. I said, Bradley Beal's going to miss more games than Anthony Davis. And he has, by the way. And I think when you have a guy like him that comes on that needs the ball, it messes up chemistry with the rest of the team. And then Booker's also playing the 1 spot a lot this year, so his needs to distribute the ball more, and it's kind of figuring that out with Beal's going to be tough. And then now Durant's missing games, and then I think Vogel doesn't really know what to do. And then you have Nurkic, who he sets a screen, then he falls and he's hurt, and you're like, okay, I guess he's out for a little bit. I don't blame it on Books. I think when playoff time comes, whenever in the play-in or wherever they're at right now, when it comes to that final time, I think he's still going to show up. Out of all the big 3, I still depend on him to show up and be the best player of all of them. I think it's that bench, man. That bench is going to kill him. That bench is going to keep him away from anything, Rob. And honestly, I'm going to say this, and you can yell at me. You can call me a loser.
I will anyway, but tell me.
Yes. I have more faith, 100% more faith, that the Clippers make it farther than them in the Western Conference.
Wow.
100%.
Wow. I don't
100%.
hate it. I really don't hate that, actually. All right. Let's one more before we let you up out of here. Charlotte, the Hornets, 8-24. I mean, they're bad. We know they're bad. They're obviously not going to be near sniffing anything when it comes down to it. They are dealing with LaMelo Ball, who is somehow both injured but an all-star, which is why I'm not going to lie. I'd be 100% fine to get rid of the fan vote for all-star games. They're pointless. I hate them. That being said, are you seeing, because, you mentioned it is as far as the cyclical nature of teams competing in the NBA, there's a couple of teams that are always going to be up towards the top, big market teams. For the rest, it's a cycle of being bad, being a little bit better, being a playoff team that's going to get bounced because they're not ready, and then the next year being a team that's ready to compete. Where do you see the Hornets actively moving up in that cycle? Because this year I was cautiously optimistic we might see this team start to compete a little bit. We might see this team start to put together some pieces that would help them start to rise up the ranks in the East. I did not think they were going to be this bad. Can I chalk this up to injuries, Or is this team just going to be forever cursed to be a bottom dweller?
So there's injuries that do play a part, right? Like you said, Ball has been out since November 26th. In the last 10 games, they're 1-9 in the last 10. 30th in net rating, 29th in defensive rating, 30th in offensive rating during that time. But they also face the Suns, Clippers, Nuggets, Lakers, Pacers, Sixers. And those are all playoff teams. A lot of those teams are title favorites. I think this team is 2 years away from being 2 years away. That's where I kind of stand with them right now.
They're 4 years away.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think that's where they're at right now. Maybe a couple, if you kill it in the draft a couple of times, because let's face it, no, you're not going to sign anyone to Charlotte. Like you got Gordon Hayward wanted to come back to Charlotte. That's the best you're ever going to get for that. And so I think you got to build through the draft. I think it's going to be a very long process. And I understand why it's also frustrating because we talked about the young guys earlier. You look at the young guys going, well, Anthony Edwards is already, he's already got his team ready. Like they're already going. They're already going. Luka was going quick with the Mavs. Like, why is this happening to us? You didn't build around LaMelo fast enough or good enough. That's a lot of it. Brandon Miller, I'm not off on. I think Brandon Miller has a lot of potential to be a really good player. But Rob, they're ways away from being a competitive team. And 4 years away. Maybe next year they show signs of excitement. I'll give you that. Next year, expect excitement. The next year, expect flirting with playoffs. The next year, expect playoffs.
I dig it. Mario Heron, hating ass Mario. He is the producer of Bet for the Cycle, which airs noon to 4 every Saturday on the BetQL network with myself, Cody Decker, and Mario. He also is an NBA expert for BetQL. Joins us on Fridays to talk NBA shooter hoops. Dog, good to have you, big dog. Appreciate you.
Hey, always good to see you guys. Lonzo,
Yeah,
love the shirt today.
Thank you. It was my daddy's.
Don't be friends. Don't be friends.
By the way, I don't know if you knew this as we go to
friends.
break, but Rob got another haircut.
Oh, he knew. I was on the air Saturday with him.
Yeah, another. Well, all right. Since
he saw me Saturday.
it's.
I know. Can you stop?
He's this way. A buzz cut's coming. It's
No,
coming.
it's not. I
Yeah,
can't do it. My head's
he's
too
gonna
big.
go. He's gonna look straight up military. It's
My
gonna
head's
be
too big.
amazing.
Me and Mario got to keep hair on the noggin because we both have the XL domes. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I think we know who's got the biggest.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Mario, talk to you next week. Actually, I'll talk to you Saturday, buddy.
That's
All right, see you
tomorrow.
guys.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah, that
in
is
case you
tomorrow.
didn't.
I'll
Yeah,
talk
so-
to you tomorrow, Mario. Oh my God, I'm so done. You threw me off the game. Mario, see you, buddy.
See you guys.
I'm struggling over here, man. I am. I
Pull it
turned my
together.
computer off on accident.
Oh, you did that again?
I said,
Again?
I called him. I said, I'll see you tomorrow. The
Yeah, you
struggle's
did.
real.
You did that on purpose.
No, I did not.
Okay, all right.
I wish I would have. Then I could be like, oh, IR smart. But no, I'm just bad at my job. What do you want? We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the bed. Nope. See? You screwed me up, Lonzo.
You start. I would have dumped that if you went through with that.
We're back after this for the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Golly.
I messed something up too, but I'll have to fix it. He wasn't in Ox, so if you were planning on using that segment, I'm gonna have to. I got to fix it for the podcast. There's just a bunch of empty spots.
Okay.
I can fix it. I can fix it though. I just happened to look up and go, why is there an empty space there? Oh no. And part of it has to do with, hey, it's my board when I sit down. So I shouldn't complain about other people who, again, decided to zero everything out.
Trying to keep you on your toes, buddy.
No, it's more, this board is mine. I don't share it.
This board is my board. This board is your board.
I don't know. If we go by seniority, this board is my board. It is. So, I mean.
This board is Zoe's board. It is not your board. Oh, man, I'm nailing it over here.
I remember when this board was put in. Yeah. Yeah, Charlotte's pretty bad as far as that goes.
Charlotte is the worst sports city right now.
Something about professional sports wise. I should be able to fix that fairly easy.
Just pull it off the skimmer.
Yeah, and then I will mix it together. I did not, Zach. I'm guessing he took care of them. I did see the reason why the stuff caught on fire though. Minute and a half. It's because the kid was playing with a lighter apparently. Or something, yeah. So there is this thing. I don't know if it's a phenomenon. It's just a thing. There is a brotherhood of producers. So, I mean, immediately, you know, we all know the struggle. So right away, you put two producers together, they're going to go at the host every time. This is how it works. Oh, that's cool, Zach. That is cool. And how many houses he has. I don't know that I know anyone with multiple homes. And a Winnebago doesn't count. Rob probably knows people with multiple homes. I don't know that I do. See, I know it's a 1%er thing.
Nope. It's definitely upper middle class at the least.
Although I may know some people who run a trailer park, so technically they own multiple homes because, you know. Oh, I know he's got plenty of money still, apparently. Not talking about you. We're talking about Rick Ross.
Yeah, you're obviously not talking about me. So there was a tweet yesterday I wanted to get into just a minute that kind of bothered me a little bit. Peter Burns is a host on the SEC network. I know Peter. I'm not super close to him, but I've been to a couple of games with him in the past. I like him a lot. But he had a take on Twitter yesterday that just kind of chapped me a little bit, man. He was talking about, as a lot of people have, and I get it, I just very much disagree with it. He had a tweet yesterday talking about the Florida State Georgia game. And in the tweet, which I am not seeing now, so I don't know if I'm missing it or he deleted it. But in the tweet, he basically said, as a lot of other people have, that the FSU Georgia game was kind of a joke, right? Kind of a joke. He said basically, in fact, I quote tweeted it, so I'll go find it. But he said basically that this was here it is. Georgia destroying FSU was case study in culture. UGA had reason to be upset about playoff snub. Bulldogs locked in. Seminoles checked out. FSU success was because of how well they hit the transfer portal, but transfers tend to be mercenaries who value self over team. I do not need, I don't think, to explain to people that all of us care about self over team. All of us do. But how many of y'all work for free? How many of y'all are willing to do a job because you're so dedicated? Because here's the best thing. The ultimate act of dedication to a team would be what? To accept nothing for your role on it, right? That's ultimate dedication to the team. And I suspect that none of the people who are doing this whole, transfer guys are mercenaries without loyalty. I bet all of you get a paycheck for your job.
All right, so
I bet you do. And I would bet that.
But that's
you
not
would leave
changing
that
the fact
job
that
for
he's
another
right.
paycheck.
That's not changing the fact that he's right. You can say that, but everything he said was correct. Yeah, I mean, you can throw that other stuff in there, but what he said is right.
Okay. Transfers tend to be mercenaries who value self over team. You're telling me the guys that are on the team for 3 years and they're willing to not play They're what? They're just the greatest team players and are not in it because they are looking for compensation for themselves. Yes, they are. Now, the problem that I have is not even the transfers or mercenaries take, which I don't like. Which I don't like at all.
I don't get why you don't like. I mean, it doesn't even go against your narrative or anything. It's absolutely true. That's what they are.
Everyone is a mercenary.
I know you can say that, but
because it's true.
You're right. So what you're saying is what he said was the truth.
Right, but then what's the point of saying it? What's the point? It is a derogatory take that is needlessly going after a bunch of guys for no reason.
Adults who can handle him going after him.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he's going after high school kids. He's going after employees who are making decisions and deciding to go somewhere else because they're not happy where they are. They're mercenaries. That's absolutely what they are.
So is literally everyone.
Yeah.
It's just some of us.
So why does it make you angry? That's what I don't get. Why does it make you angry when you just agreed that what he said was the truth?
Because of the first line. Georgia destroying FSU was case study in culture. To say that, and I understand I've spent a lot of time taking up for FSU lately. And I'm going to continue to do it because I think they got a raw deal. But when you have, and especially at a point in time where there are people out there, I'm one, that is convinced that the folks at ESPN have a vested interest and voice in saying what happens on the field in college football, which to me is a problem. What did I say?
So why are you still a fan of college football then? Because if it's predetermined and they have such a voice, then it's tainted. So why not just swear off college football and find something else?
I don't want to do that. And I don't want to believe that is what is happening. And I would like to do what I can to stop it from happening, because if it does get to a point that I go, it is no longer about the product, but the product that goes on TV. And I already believe that is roughly the case. But if I can speak out and hopefully some folks get it, understand it, and mobilize to prevent it to happen, because at the end of the day, I know what the NFL is about. But at the end of the day, the belief for me is that what happens on the field at the NFL, what happens on the field is important. What happens on the field is the main thing. I am losing the feeling that is the case with college football. I am losing the feeling that, hey, we may prop it up and market it and try to make it to where the TV is compelling, but at the end of the day, what happens on the field is ultimately what decides what goes on TV. But I'm getting the feeling that relationship has shifted. Now, what goes on TV dictates what happens on the field, right? There's a difference. I believe that in the NFL, although games like Detroit, Dallas are making it more difficult to do so, I believe that at the end of the day, what happens on the field dictates the TV product. All the stuff off the field is geared towards making the TV product as advertisable as possible. But what goes on TV is dictated by what happens on the field, whereas with college football, I'm beginning to get the feeling that what goes on TV dictates what happens on the field. And so when I've got a guy that I like, that I respect in Peter Burns, we've had him on this show in the past. What I like Peter, but Peter working for the network that right now is gaining traction in the narrative that they have a massive say in what happens on the field, directly related to the championship of this sport we love. When he comes out and is dropping elbows on Florida State by saying they have a bad culture, they have a toxic culture, it makes it harder for that team to survive, to thrive. Because if you've got a bunch of kids watching ESPN who are being told by the people on ESPN that this culture is bad, despite the fact that in last year's bowl game, Florida State didn't have the opt-outs. They didn't have transfers. It was the same coach. It was the same staff. It was a lot of the same players, Jordan Travis included. They didn't have opt-outs last year. They had opt-outs this year. And if you're out there dropping elbows that their culture is toxic, because they tried to make a point. Our first 13 games don't matter, so neither does our 14th. And you're utilizing this to put Georgia higher up on a podium. It hurts a program at an age where I want parity and success across a larger range of teams, not an ever-increasing smaller one.
Excuse me. I think we do have parity. How many of these teams? I mean, yeah, Michigan was in it last year. I mean, we've got some parity. There's going to be a new national champion this year. You know what? They're not going to be SEC. They're going to be Big Ten.
Correct. And the other two were from the SEC. There were two conferences represented in these playoffs. Two. And there are a lot of us who believe an arm was twisted to create a world where there were two conferences. And wouldn't you know it, coincidentally, it's the two conferences that are in control of college football.
You've been talking about for at least the last year, maybe 2 years.
Correct.
Was coming, and now it's here. So
that doesn't mean I have to like it.
Okay, all right.
It does not mean to be the understanding, recognizing, and acknowledging a reality doesn't mean I have to like that reality.
Okay, you may not acknowledge the reality that we need to take a break, but we do.
Yeah, and I don't like it because I got the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the fan upset. You don't get a segue.
I created my own segue. The transfer portal is running out of highly touted quarterbacks. Days after DJ Uyunglele committed to Florida State, former Kansas State quarterback Will Howard has committed to Ohio State. Howard led Kansas State to the 2022 Big 12 title and was 12-5 over 2 years with the Wildcats. The Atlanta Braves have solidified their starting pitching for the near future. Former Red Sox Chris Sale signed a 2-year, $38 million extension yesterday with the club opt out for 2026. The NCAA and ESPN have announced a deal that will involve 40 NCAA championships being aired on the network over the next 8 years, including 21 women's and 19 men's, totaling 800 hours of championships on TV. We are your home for Furman Paladins basketball. Tune in tomorrow night at 6:30. The Paladins take on the Chattanooga Mocs right here on your home for Furman Sports, the Fan, Upstate. So here's the thing. Clemson needs to be back in order for the ACC to be relevant because they are not the conference as a whole is not respected if it's not Clemson winning it. Rob hates it. It's the truth. It's the only time you're relevant is when Clemson's winning the ACC. When they're not, no one cares. And Clemson had to work hard to make themselves relevant to the point where that conference is acknowledged. Without them being at the top, the ACC basically doesn't exist.
Unlimited payroll runs, next day direct deposits, and automatically files my taxes. Saves me time. Wow.
That's nice. Choose payroll without the pain. Visit gusto.com/radio to sign up for free.
So you're in the middle of a kitchen update, and you can't tell if that's a faucet stem or a flange. With the Home Depot app, Do It doesn't miss a beat. It'll find what you need in a snap, and it'll show you how to find it in store with a tap. Or get it delivered free. For doing that doesn't stop. Download the Home Depot app. It's made for doing.
shop for pricing, fixing, selling, and instant cash offer. Instant cash offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy or trade your car.
I was ready to do a big. There was two of me.
Yeah, I told you what I was doing. I'm just
On Fridays at this point in time, we laid up. What are we doing?
It really makes no sense. And then that.
The final hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you. Rob and Lonzo with you on a Friday morning. We have got 60 minutes left until we, and by we, I mean Lonzo and I, not you. You still have to work. Lonzo and I have 60 minutes left, and then we're done. We're headed to the weekend. Week 18 in the National Football League. I didn't know that I was going to miss it, but I missed Thursday Night Football last night. Despite the fact that more often than not, the games on Thursday Night Football were stinkers.
come on, you tuned in like I did to watch Al Michaels struggle. It's like, no, Al Michaels. I missed it too because for the reason I just said.
I didn't I didn't take pleasure in listening to Al Michaels fight his way through Thursday Night Football games. And let me rephrase that. He wasn't fighting through. It sounded like he was having the time of his life calling those games with Herbie. It is very clearly is not the same guy. That's why he got benched for the playoffs. And I think a lot of that, and it might just be me, but I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that once he got that big, fat Amazon contract, he didn't really have to put in the effort anymore, right? It's Thursday Night Football. You're the only game in town. There's no other games you're competing with except during the college season. And even then, the NFL first guys were watching NFL more often than whatever Thursday night game was on. Kevin said, like, you'd be normal you at 70, Rob. Dude, I'm not normal me at 38, bro. I am falling apart.
What the heck is normal?
That's also fair. No, I think that he basically just got to a point where it was easy, man. You go to your production meeting, you roll up, you call the game. And I think that came across. But even with that, I missed the Thursday Night Football game last night. I did. I liked having it on. It was like it was comfort, you know? It is week 18 in the National Football League, and a lot of playoff spots are going to be determined this weekend across the league. None bigger than, obviously, as we've mentioned a couple of times, the AFC's Eastern Division will be determined on Sunday night when the Bills and the Dolphins play. Prediction number one for me. Lonzo's going to have to put up with a lot of Josh Allens on Monday. Because I think Josh Allen is going to be in fuego Sunday night. It feels like traditionally these are the kind of spots that Josh Allen turns into Josh Allen again. The AFC East on the line, with a couple of other games going their way, as high as the number 2 seed on the line in the AFC. This just feels like a Josh Allen game. But there's a lot of football between here and there. 2 games on Saturday. One kicks off at 4:30 with the Steelers and the Ravens. The other at 8:15 with the Texans and the Colts. The Ravens going with backups in this one. They've already locked in the number 1 seed. The Pittsburgh Steelers trying to fight their way in and sitting at 9-7 have a chance to do so. We'll need a bit of help, but they can at least get in with a win and one other game going their way. My question is, what do the Ravens look like? Right? We know Lamar's not going to go. I suspect most of their starters aren't going to go. It's not so much what the Raiders look like, or what the Ravens, look like on Sunday. It's what do they look like in 2 weeks? Kyle Shanahan has said that Brock Purdy is going to sit, which makes sense. I'm sure Brock Purdy's kind of banged up right now. They're going to sit him. But he also pointed out, and I really think this is more true about the 49ers than the Ravens. Kyle Shanahan said, guys sitting for 2 weeks is not good. It's not good. And in a year where I think the number one seeds in both the NFC and AFC definitively are the Super Bowl favorites going into the playoffs, both of those teams having locked up the 1 seed in week 17, resting starters in 18, getting a week off for wild card round, and then playing 2 full weeks later. Technically, it's 3 weeks between when those guys will play their last game and their next. They are going to be off on the 7th, which means the last game they played was, if you're playing an every Sunday schedule, the 31st. They will not play the 7th. They will not play the 14th. Their next game will be the 21st. That is the week from the 1st to the 21st. Bad at math, but that's 3 weeks. That is my one concern for San Francisco and Baltimore, both going into the playoffs. 3 weeks of sit-down time for the starters. More concerned about San Francisco than Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's Ravens offense is predominantly not predicated on timing and precision. It's predicated on Lamar's improvisational skills and the wide receivers running knowledgeable routes, not exact routes. San Francisco's the other way around. It's about timing, precision. It's about running specific routes to specific spots. Whereas with Lamar, not that they're making it up as they go, but with Lamar's team, it's less about 5 yards cut in and more about 5-ish yards, find the soft spot and cut. And Lamar buying time for that to happen. I think it's easier to get back to that than it is to get back to precise timing in a West Coast style like Kyle Shanahan's. And that's what I'm worried about. Texans Colts is on Saturday night. CJ Stroud with a win over Indy and a Jayville loss to Tennessee, which, by the way, Jacksonville, Tennessee, what is that game going to be? Jacksonville's 9-7, Titans are 5-11. The Titans are the most disappointing in the league to me. They're also the weirdest team in the league because they're a team that can beat Miami. They're a team that can beat Cincinnati, 27-3. I mean, they smoked Cincinnati, and that was week 4, week 3, week 4, when Cincinnati was healthy. They smoked them. It's also a team that loses to Atlanta. It's also a team that loses to Seattle. They've been swept by Houston. Derrick Henry drives me nuts. Not Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry behind that offensive line is nuts. Because Derrick Henry should be a touchdown a week guy. Instead, he's got games where he goes off for 140 and 2 touches, and the next week he'll turn around and have 42 yards on 22 carries and no touchdowns. Mike Vrabel is in trouble. Not because he's bad, but because he might have the most inconsistent team in the National Football League. I don't understand it. And Tennessee,
he needs a quarterback. That's what he needs. I know you're saying offensive line, but a more than whatever Tannehill is, he needs a quarterback.
I don't disagree. And the thing is,
and the guy they drafted,
Will Levis out of Kentucky.
Yeah, he had moments.
Will Levis out of Kentucky is kind of interesting because I feel like he's shown enough flash that I'm like, all right, he might be a guy. Like, he might be a guy. I don't necessarily know that I'm throwing him into the upper echelon of quarterbacks, but I think he's in that echelon of quarterbacks that's good enough to win, good enough to carry a team. The problem is this offensive line for Tennessee is trash. I mean, it is, though, it makes Carolina's look good. That's how bad it is. That's why when Derrick Henry's going 140 and 2 tutties, and then Derrick Henry the next week goes 22 carries for 48 yards. Like, it's awful. So I would say you're right in the way that every team is looking for the next Lamar Jackson or Brock Purdy or Joe Burrow. But at the same time, it's about 5th on their priority list. So I don't know. I do know that Tennessee can beat Jacksonville. I know they can beat Jacksonville. I don't know if they will, but Texans-Colts is going to be a slobber knocker because either one of those teams can win the division with a Jacksonville loss on Sunday. Problem is, you've got to win that game to have a chance to pull for Tennessee on Sunday.
Which way are you leaning?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think I've got the slightest of leans to Houston, but it is in Indianapolis. But like the slightest of leans. CJ looked better when he had, this is going to shock you. It's only what I've been telling you since week 1. CJ Stroud was better before he started getting a bunch of banged up wide receivers. Once his wide receivers started getting banged up, by the way, the Texans are a -1 point favorite.
He also proved how good he was when he was out.
Sure, they looked a lot worse. I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, and when he came back, he tore it up.
But he looked better when he had the full complement of wide receivers to lean on. He does it now. That being said, how much are we leaning on Minshew mania? I don't know. We'll find out. I'm leaning Texans, but like that much.
I am too, because I admire and respect and understand the greatness that is CJ Stroud.
The Browns are locked into the playoffs. They are playing the Bengals on Sunday. The Bengals basically playing for a winning record at this point at 8-8. Not a ton of interest in that game. Vikings-Lions on Sunday. The Lions already locked in as the winners of the NFC North, already locked in as the 3 seed. They cannot move up or down, so they will be resting Jared Goff and the boys. The Vikings trying to climb to 8-9. There is a path to the wild card for Minnesota, but they will need like 2 or 3 other games to go their way in order to get it, plus obviously a win. I do think the Vikings win that game. We talked Jags-Titans a minute ago, Jets-Patriots, huzzah! The other AFC East battle that we'll be paying attention to. Hoodie's 4-12.
Come on. You're paying attention to Jets-Patriots.
Only in
that might be the last game that okay, all right.
Honestly, it might be the last game for both head coaches, right? Robert Saleh is only coming back if Aaron Rodgers wants him back. Aaron GM Rodgers will determine if Robert Saleh is back next year. Even with Zach Wilson stepping in for an injured Aaron Rodgers, I give a little bit of leeway because you spent the entire offseason prepping this team to be led by Aaron Rodgers, who plays a similar style game as Zach Wilson, but just obviously exponentially better at it. You spent the entire offseason prepping this team to play behind Aaron Rodgers, and then you did not have him. So I give a little bit of leeway to Robert Saleh. But I would also say once Rodgers went down in week 1, that's plenty of time to have this team playing better ball later than they were at the beginning.
Have you seen their quarterbacks? I mean, I think he did all he could with what he had.
Yes. But again, did they get better? Even with the quarterback they had, that the defense that this team had with Sauce Gardner and co. is remarkable. They did not transfer, or I should say transition, to being what I thought they should have turned into, which was a screen and run based offense. With Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, you had a screen and run based offense built in there. You had a defense that I think reasonably is one of the top 6 defenses in the National Football League. This team should not have been as bad as it was. Now, with the win over the Patriots, they'll be 7-10. That's not awful. The winner of the NFC South is going to be 1 win better than the New York Jets. It's not awful, but it's New York. So I don't know. We'll see. Speaking of the NFC South, the Falcons and the Saints, the Bucks and the Panthers all kick off at noon. If Tampa beats Carolina, they win the division. If Tampa loses to Carolina and New Orleans beats Atlanta, they win the division. If Atlanta beats New Orleans and Tampa loses to Carolina, Atlanta wins the division. If Atlanta beats New Orleans and Tampa beats Carolina, obviously Tampa wins the division. Here's the thing. It looks now like the most likely outcome this weekend is that the Dallas Cowboys win the NFC East and get the number 2 seed in the NFC. If that ends up being the case, the winner of the NFC South, whether it is New Orleans, Tampa, or Atlanta, the winner of the NFC South, and I really do think it's going to be either Tampa or New Orleans. I don't think it's going to be Atlanta. The winner of the South, New Orleans or Tampa, most likely, will host Philly in round 1 as the wild card team. And I think they're beatable by the winner of the NFC South. I think that's probably the only team that's beatable by the winner of the NFC South. But I think they're beatable by the winner of the NFC South. You get a bit of a gift because this Eagles team, as much as we have talked about some of the teams that found it, some of the teams that lost it, I don't think there is a team that has lost it more than the Eagles. Like the Chiefs have lost it, but you can still see flashes of the Chiefs. The Eagles lost at home to Arizona with the division on the line. They melted down. And that is like the 3rd straight game that Philly did not look like Philly, or at least the Philly that we all thought they were going to be preseason. I am unimpressed. And I'm unimpressed to the point that I'm like, I got to tell you, I don't know if the Saints are going to win the division or not, but if they do and I get to pick the wild card team I play, isn't it wild that Philly's the team that you want? And that's the team you're going to get. So there's your 1 o'clock games. When we come back here in a minute, we'll take a stroll down our 425 schedule because it's a pretty good split, pretty good day. We got all those games at 1. We got 6 games at 425, and then we got the nightcap. We'll break them all down when we come back here in just a minute. I am Rob Brown. The Great Lonzo's on the 1s and 2s. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It is the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Y'all, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Joey B, what's up, big dog? T Swizzle, how about Dalvin Cook? I really want to blame the downfall of Dalvin Cook on the Jets. I really want to believe that Dalvin Cook as a spell for Gus Johnson is like a huge pickup for Baltimore. I just don't know.
Clemson, huh? think there are more teams out there than Clemson. That's what I think.
Eagles Markets has everything you need to fuel your athlete or satisfy all the hungry fans in your life. Eagles prices, love the savings.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Central Bank members of the FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending.
PJs, I have not heard of any moves yet.
Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/free. Ramp.com/free. RSMP.com/free.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter.
It is P digits, but we talked a little bit about it yesterday. They're going to need a signature win sooner than later. I think they got was it Mississippi State tonight? That'd be a decent win.
You need to work on your spell check. I don't think you spelled that right. Did Diesel cut out his own name? Oh, that's weird. Jay, Clemson.
Offsides with Mark Ryan. Upstate.
Text us at
What'd you do when you were a kid? Play Nintendo?
I found like a 9-minute YouTube video of Nick Saban's best lines, and that was the first one. I was like, this is going to be good. I sat 9 minutes in front of my computer yesterday watching Nick Saban scream at his players at a practice.
What are we doing?
And instantly was like, well, I could fill up an entire board with these. Welcome back to the Rob Brown Show's on your radio, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, and you. If you'd like to be a part of the radio broadcast, now's a great time to do it. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. You can text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air. We made a run through our 1 o'clock games and our Saturday games. I'm going Steelers over the Ravens JV team. I'm going Texans over the Colts. These are money line wins for me, not spread wins if you're into that sort of thing. I'll go Bengals over the Browns. I'm going to go Vikings over Lions. Not because they're better, but because the Lions aren't playing starters. I'm going to go one of the few upsets I'm picking. I'm going to go Titans over Jags. This is a Vrabel spot for me. Mike Vrabel asked about his season, said
Sucks.
And then
Sorry about my language.
But this is a Vrabel game for me. This feels like one of those games that Mike Vrabel's going to go, listen, I'm not walking out on an L. We're going to do what we can do. The Jags are reeling with injuries right now. And even with the division on the line, I think the Titans get the upset. Jets, Patriots, I'm going for Nap. Falcons, Saints, give me New Orleans on the road over Atlanta. Last week, something clicked for the Saints. Great job, Dennis Allen. Wait till 17 weeks into the season to figure it out. That's cool.
Good enough to keep your job. Way to go.
Yeah, they're bringing him back next year. Good Lord. What are we doing? Oh, sorry. Wait. What are we doing? There we go. Thanks, Nick. Won't matter, though, because I got the Bucs over the Panthers. For the record, it is a winnable game for Carolina. You're going to look and go, wait a minute, Rob, the Bucs are 8-8. They're playing for the division. How? Because the Saints put the blueprint down last week. They took Rachaad White out of the game. They hit Baker Mayfield. They blew up the Buccaneer offense. Tampa did not get anything going until very, very late in that game when the Saints had shifted, I don't know why, from a very aggressive defense to one that was laying off a little bit. Carolina's got the horses behind Derek Brown up front to take Rachaad White out of the game.
So a Panthers team that won 2 games all season, they're going to muster something, and to be spoilers, it's going to motivate them to the point where they're actually going to win the game because they can keep Tampa Bay out of the playoffs. That's going to happen Sunday.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with the fact that the spot to beat Tampa is the only thing that is a strength for Carolina. It's the only thing that they're good at. Is hassling the interior of the offensive line. It's the only thing they do well.
I still think we should go to the game.
I hadn't ruled it out, to be honest with you. Let's move to the 425 slot. The Bears taking on the Packers. By the way, what happened in Chicago? Back in like week 10, everybody was telling me that Justin Fields was done. They were cooked. Matt Eberflus is going to be fired. All of a sudden, the Bears have won 4 of their last 5. They have won 5 of their last 7. The 2 games they lost were at a very good Detroit team and at a pretty good Cleveland team. They only lost that by a field goal. They knocked off the same Cardinals team that beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They destroyed the Atlanta Falcons at home. All of a sudden, I think folks might need to walk back the cut Justin Fields stuff, maybe give him another year. Oh, by the way, they've got 2 first-round draft selections, and there's a cat out there named Marvin Harrison Jr. that you could put opposite of DJ Moore and immediately have the best wide receiver duo in football.
And it's all thanks to the Carolina Panthers.
Sure is.
They got DJ Moore. They probably get Marvin Harrison Jr. Wow.
They get DJ Moore from Carolina. They get the number 1 overall pick from Carolina that if I'm Ryan Poles, I'm turning into Marvin Harrison Jr. I also think, by the way, the other option they have is they could trade back 2 or 3 spots depending on if there is a hot hand at quarterback there. I don't know if there will be because I think Jaden Daniels has increased his stock way up. Drake May's up there. Caleb Williams up there. I don't know if there's going to be as much contention. And the problem you have, Marvin Harrison Jr. is not making it out of the top 5. Yeah, so I don't know if they can trade back.
You got 2 picks. You got another one that's fair. That's going to be kind of high. I mean, why play around with the first one? Take the guy you want with the first one, and you can play around with your second pick.
I kind of think you have to. The question mark is, what are you going to do with that second pick, right? Because it doesn't come around till pick 10 because you've been winning. It doesn't come around until pick number 10, and if that is the case.
Might be a nice lineman right around.
That's what
there.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. But if you're going to go lineman there, do you trade it back if a QB has fallen a little bit, right? Like if Drake May, and I think he will, if Drake May falls down to 10, 11, 12, do you trade back out of that spot, pick you up 3 or 4 extra picks later in this draft, and then just draft every lineman? I might have to. Anyway, Chicago v. Green Bay. This one's at Lambeau. Green Bay is very much in a position to win a wild card spot with a win over Chicago here. The Bears, though, have all the momentum in the world. Green Bay went on the road last week and they knocked off Minnesota 33-10, but Minnesota was on like their 19th string quarterback as well. So I'm back and forth. This one's a pick'em game to me. Broncos Raiders. Of course, we get to see Russ Wilson. Oh, wait. Jarrett bleeping Stidham getting the nod for the Broncos, mainly because they don't want to see Russ Wilson get hurt and go on the hook for a few more $1 million worth of guaranteed money. So Russell Wilson, who, let me be very clear, is not the reason that the Broncos are 8-8 right now. Statistically, that guy's got numbers that place him in the top third of quarterbacks in the league this year. Is not going to play. It has nothing to do with roster management.
Overrated. Where's he playing next year?
That's a real good question. Somebody's going to give him a year, but it's going to be on like a bumper team, like a team that's like real close. They're a quarterback away, but they don't have a good draft pick. So they bring him in just for the experiment. Again, top third of the league, statistically speaking. So I don't know that I hate it. God, I hate this website so much. Can I mute this entire website?
How about you just don't go to that website?
I can't. It's like my go-to. It's my spot.
Oh, okay.
All right, it's muted now. We're good.
So you're sure?
Yep. 100%. I just wanted to test that it works.
So glad I potted it back up for that.
Eagles, Giants. Of course, the Eagles need a win and a Dallas loss in order to win the NFC East and acquire the number 2 seed in the NFC after they choked against Arizona. Here's the thing. That wasn't a one-off performance from Philadelphia. I mean, it was the worst, but it wasn't the worst one. They lost to Seattle 2 weeks ago. They got destroyed by San Francisco and Dallas. This team has lost it. The good news is they're playing not Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants this week. So, I mean, it's a get-right game. And the good news outside of that is Dallas wins the division with a win, but they're on the road in Week 18, where they have been bad. I think the Cowboys are winning that game. I think the Cowboys are winning this division. This game, to me, for Philly, I don't think it matters in terms of getting the 2 seed back. You would be in a better spot if Dallas was on the road this weekend, but they were on the road at a good team, not Washington. But I think Philly's checking in second in this division. The only reason this game is important for Philly is they got to find whatever it is that they have lost before they go on the road to take on the NFC South champion. Because Tampa Bay on the outside, if they can get any sort of run game going, have an elite wide receiver core good enough to beat Philly, and a defense that can make Jalen run for his life. New Orleans, like I mentioned, and I don't know if it was a one-off best game we're going to see the Saints play all year, but last week, defensively, New Orleans was a team that is absolutely good enough to beat at least this version of the Philadelphia Eagles. So this game is not so much for Philly about winning the division. I think you've already cost yourself that. I think this is more about a get-right game for Philly before they go on the road for 3 games in the playoffs. Seattle is at Arizona. Seattle in a wild card spot. Arizona just playing for some pride. By the way, did you see that the the Cardinals have said that Kyler Murray is their franchise quarterback? They will not be making a quarterback play during this offseason, that Kyler is their guy. I don't really have a problem with it, because after you had basically everybody good that played skill positions for Arizona leave, I do think Kyler's kind of on his own a little bit right now. So I don't have an issue with them deciding to stick there, especially considering I don't know that there's anybody in this draft at quarterback outside of Jaden Daniels that I go, yeah, he's a better fit. There's James Conner and who beside Kyler Murray? Cardinals just need to draft everybody that's a skill player. Seahawks got to win, need a whole bunch of help. Chiefs Chargers at 425. What's your read on this one? Don't care? You're 10-6. You're locked in. Starters all sitting.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't care. I mean, if it were on TV, which it will not be, I would watch it probably because it's my team. But it means nothing. Period,
It really doesn't.
Except a paycheck for the guys who are playing.
Yep, pretty much.
And the guys who aren't, but still, yeah.
Kansas City rolling in the backups. They are locked in as the AFC's 3 seed. They cannot move up nor down. They are locked into that spot. San Diego at 5-11. I got to think Brandon Staley is the number 1 coach fired. Yeah, the San Diego Chargers. That's who they are, right?
Okay, all right.
The LA Superchargers, 5-11.
That's how irrelevant this game is. Yeah.
I have said for a while and continue to say, I think the Tennessee Titans are the most disappointing team in the National Football League. If you want to say it's the LA Chargers instead, I'm good with that.
That team that's hyped every year because of Justin Herbert and they're going to do good and they got a decent defense with some star players on it and they're going to compete for the West and going to be in the play. And then this year was not.
Yeah, I'm not hanging that on Justin Herbert though. I am not hanging it on JH. That is one of as impressive as it was. Joey B pointed this out in the stream chat a minute ago. As impressive as it is that Mike Tomlin was able to get to a winning season with Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph.
Hey, Mason Rudolph is tearing it up.
Oh, he was on fire last week. They're going back to him. Kenny Pickett's riding pine this week because Mason Rudolph's that guy. The fact that Tomlin could rotate those, the fact that the Cleveland Browns had 4 starting quarterbacks this year and are one of 5 teams locked into the playoffs right now with Joe freaking Elite Flacco stepping in week, 14 to take over?
That's the story. We paid all this money for Deshaun Watson and then Flacco comes in off the couch and does this.
It's pretty incredible. So while Joe Flacco is taking the Browns to the playoffs, Joe Flacco, Dorian Thompson-Brown, Deshaun Watson. Who was the other one? There's one more. Now I'm forgetting who the 4th one was. Was Josh Dobbs there for him? No, it wasn't Josh Dobbs. He's everywhere else.
Was it Tyrod Taylor? He's the other
Tyrod
guy.
Taylor?
Yeah, that's everywhere too. I don't know.
Who else played quarterback for the Browns this year? I think Mark Ryan played quarterback for a couple of games. Anyway, as bad as that situation was, the Browns are 11-5 and in the playoffs. That's all you can ask for. PJ Walker. How could I forget PJ?
Yeah.
You know who else is on the depth chart at number 2 right now? Jeff Driscoll. Another guy I haven't thought about in a while. Point here is,
it sucks to be the backup quarterback this year. Usually you can take it easy. You ride the pine. You may play some preseason
in
games.
Cleveland, they don't have backup quarterbacks. They have eventual starters.
Think of it overall, though. I mean, the backup quarterback is a great thing to be because you don't have to do that much. Run the practice squad or scout team.
They're not even going to risk you in contact drills because they can't have you go injured.
Yeah,
just in case.
But this year, I mean, how many backup quarterbacks actually played this year?
I think all of them. Rams 49ers taking place at 4:25. Both of those teams are already locked in. They're going, so probably not going to see much. I think everybody's sitting in that game. That's a snoozer. Cowboys Commanders, like we mentioned a couple times. Dallas is playing for the NFC East title. They are on the road. I think there are 2 things that the Cowboys are playing for in this game. Obviously, winning the division is one of them, but it's also establishing themselves as a road team because while they will be, when Sunday concludes, the number 2 seed, what that does mean, obviously, is that they're going to have to go to San Francisco if they make it to the NFC title game, a place where they have already got it handed to them one time this season. They have got to go on the road and play an elite caliber game to have any sort of belief that they can go to San Francisco and win an NFC title and get a ticket.
Well, there's the fact that, the team they're playing, that Rivera's not going to be back though.
They stink.
I mean, this is probably his last stint as a head coach, period. So will those players step up and play for him for the last game and take down Dallas?
Yeah, he put out his He put out his "no matter what happens, I have enjoyed my time here" message yesterday.
Those are not good if you're the one putting those out for sure.
And then we wrap it Sunday night with Bills and Dolphins. I've already given you my pick on this one. I'm riding with Josh Allen. Josh Allen. This is a Josh Allen game. This is one of those games that Josh Allen goes out there, throws for 403 touchdowns, go the over on a Stephon Diggs touchdown prop and yardage prop. We all come in here Monday and aggravate Lonzo with our expressions of love and affection for Josh Allen. And oh, by the way, the Bills shocked the world, get the 2 seed, and now all of a sudden we're set up for a Patrick v. Josh showdown in New York.
Or Miami wins the game. Or there's that. Because you're making it sound like it's a foregone conclusion that there's no chance that Miami, with the most accurate quarterback in the history of the NFL, throwing to Tyreek Hill, who's had a bad week and needs a good game to make himself feel better. Some people, when they have tragedy, luckily it wasn't as bad as it could have been. He did lose his home, but no one was hurt, is my understanding. So maybe Tyreek comes out and plays lights out and just goes off.
Maybe. I think Buffalo's got a guy that all year long
Who does Vegas say is winning this game?
Buffalo.
Do they
field goal favorite on the road?
Oh, that's it. Just a field goal though.
That's a touchdown. You get 3 points for being at home. That's a touchdown favorite according to Vegas.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
They think they're a touchdown better.
Yeah, I'm going Miami. Just because obviously I don't like Buffalo, and forget you, Kevin. And I think this game could go either way, but I think Miami has something more to prove. I know Buffalo needs the win, but Miami needs to prove something.
Miami had a game a couple of weeks ago.
You don't want to go in the playoffs with a loss.
You mean 2 losses because they got it handed to them by Baltimore last week. 56 points Buffalo put on Miami. Miami had 19 or 18 or whatever it was. I think the Dolphins are in a spot right now because remember they did beat Dallas by 2 at home, but they lost to Tennessee a few weeks ago. They're kind of in a spot where I think most people, not everybody, but I think most people think the Dolphins are kind of fraudulent, right? I don't disagree that Miami's got to prove that they are not frauds this year. But Buffalo's gotten better as the years gone by. They look more like the Buffalo that at least I expected them to be at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to ride with Buffalo in this. Let's take a break. Come back here in just a minute. We will wrap up this show. We will wrap up the week. We will send you off into the sports weekend, and we do it next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
You think Paul Feinbaum can wear headphones?
No, he can't.
How about Mitch Albom? I mean, anyone that's got really big.
He'd have to break them in half and then tape them over the top.
Not being mean. I mean, their ears are really big.
The Dolphins beat Dallas. Do we give them credit for that? It was at home, and Dallas sucks on the road.
Sunday at home against Tampa. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladins basketball play-by-play. Catch the action live right here. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate. I didn't see it coming. Life can be so predictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something would happen to me. The mortgage, car payments.
Or like ramen bowls because I think they have more depth to them than salad bowls do. Or maybe coconuts, like from Gilligan's Island.
You know, you can make a phone out of coconuts.
Right.
That's what the professor taught me.
You know what you can't make? You can't make a boat.
You can build a phone out of coconuts, but you can't patch a hole, Professor.
Yeah.
All those years building inventions on the island, never once did he think, what if I cut down a tree, made wood planks, and covered that hole up?
Yeah, there's that.
Because it was just a hole.
Except for maybe he didn't want to go back. I mean,
if I was on an island with Marianne and Ginger,
yeah, I mean, you know,
I might be happy to stay there too.
and they always seem to hang around him. So
the only good-looking single guy on an island with Ginger and Marianne,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm real good.
and he's smart.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know.
Yeah. So you're saying I've got to outcompete Gilligan? I think I'm good.
Don't have to worry about Thurston. He's got money, but you can't spend it there. So
He's also got
Lovey.
Mrs. Thurston Howell
Yes.
III.
I saw that, Joe. I saw several reports about that. I don't know how true it is, but
Zach in the stream chat said, Rob, what's your thoughts on the Braves extending Chris Sale with a 2-year contract extension? I'm good with it. You're gambling, right? Like we talked about this earlier in the week. You're gambling. You gambled on Von Grissom, but like I said, it's okay to gamble on the future of a young middle infielder when you've already got multiple young middle infielders that have gone to an all-star game already on the depth chart. You give up depth in the middle infield, right? You're in a spot where Orlando RC is already going to be shifting back and forth between short and second, et cetera, because you don't have the depth. But I think it's a gamble you're willing to take because frontline starter is the one spot that Atlanta had to get better at to compete with the Dodgers. You had to get better across the front line. So the gamble here is Chris Sale. The gamble is Chris Sale. The gamble is this guy, should he get back to fully healthy, is this guy able to go back to being one of the most dominant pitchers in Major League Baseball? If the answer turns out to be yes, this is a brilliant move. You got a team option in the last year. So if he doesn't, you're giving him a couple of years and then a team option. Like I think it's a good move from Alex Anthopoulos. You gave him a little more money than his 1-year contract was set to have. So he's going to, and he accepted it. So he's happy to be there. He knows he's locked in. He knows he's got a home. He knows he's got a couple of years of money. And he's got the opportunity to pitch his way into a team option to end this contract up. I think it's a good move. I think it's a good move. I don't have any issue with it at all. It is the one spot you had to have. You got a guy that, when healthy, is one of the best in Major League Baseball at what he does. You're putting him on a staff that there's enough cushion around him that you can maybe even give him a couple of breaks in the rotation if you need to. I think it's a good move, man. I think it's a real good move. I don't have any issue with it. Coming up on Monday's show, it's National Championship Day. So we're going to get heavy into Michigan v. Washington. It is also on Tuesday, the first day of the college football offseason. So we start turning our eyes ahead to recruiting National Signing Day. We got another transfer portal window coming up in April. We'll start taking a look at who didn't move that might.
Isn't it Black Monday also?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So some coaches maybe let go in the NFL.
I don't suspect some. I suspect a few. I suspect a few guys will be unemployed Monday. So we'll jump into all that. And obviously we'll go pretty much wall to wall on the national championship and our NFL playoff brackets, as by the time we speak next, they will be set. But we're not done for the day. Before we get out of here for that, we got to do this.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
You just decided to stop with the hints and just flat out introduce it.
Yeah.
This week, it's a good move. It's a good move. Maybe next week, the headache will be completely gone. All right. The first thing that's Xing yo is Kenny Loggins.
Okay, so I think I know why this is going around, and I kind of freaking love it, okay? There is a picture circulating on the internet right now. Is this it? I feel like this is it.
It is. It's sad, but it is.
There is a picture circulating on the internet right now of Kenny Loggins from his much younger days. There's really two. There's one of him in kind of like a almost silky robe holding a glowing orb.
That's the one, the
Yep.
major one right there.
And then there is another one of like an album art where Kenny's got the brown hair and the beard and all that. Where a bunch of people on Twitter are sharing it, thinking that it's a picture of Jesus.
It's Jesus. Yes,
Yeah.
they think
Yeah.
it's Jesus.
Kenny Loggins, our music savior.
My favorite one is I'm all right, but that's not Jesus. It's like, yeah, it's like, oh no, first thing is, oh no, did Kenny Loggins die? Nope. They just think he's Jesus. So there's that. All right, the next thing that is Xing is Matt Riddle.
Matt Riddle, did he say another dumb thing on the internet?
Oh no, it's actually wrestling related.
Oh, really? So then he showed up at a New Japan show.
It was a Japanese promotion. I don't think it was New Japan. I think it was the other one.
He challenged Tanahashi.
Yeah, who said he had no idea who he was.
That's
which
fair.
Which I think is kayfabe.
And hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty
and
funny.
also it sets up a loose connection between Matt Riddle and AEW.
It does. And also I think their next big event is like in Chicago. So Riddle would be wrestling him in Chicago, which is pretty cool. If he can keep his stuff together when he's actually pretty good. And
it's going to be one of those spots that much like I hope for Punk, this is going to be one of those spots that I go, I hope that the consequences that you suffered were harsh enough that you now look in the mirror and go, yeah, I should probably stop.
his style will fit better with that promotion. So we'll see what happens. All right, the next thing that's Xing Yo is Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner. Now there's a name I've not heard in a long time.
All right, so Rob Reiner said his name was not on that list, and if his name was on that list, that wasn't him.
No, Your Honor, that's not me.
That's another Rob Reiner.
And if that was me, it was not me.
And then some people were saying he didn't exit. That's not true, even though it's got a blue check mark by it and everything. It's kind of funny. He's going at Trump and he says, if Rob Reiner is on that list, it's not me. It's like, okay, dude, I hope you did that on purpose, but I don't think you did. All right. What time is it? All right. The next thing it's Xing, because I just is Miami Mall.
All right. So in yet another illustration of times that Rob hates the internet.
William Shatner just X'd and said, I heard aliens landed in Miami.
I love William Shatner.
By the way, if you want to meet him in person, South Carolina Comic-Con, April 6th and 7th.
So there was earlier this week, apparently, a fight at a mall in Miami between a large group of unruly youths that commanded the attention of, 190 cops cars.
As some people said, that many cop cars don't show up just for youths fighting.
Yeah, there's like a lot. I've seen the videos, like a lot. But of course, the internet immediately went, aliens! It's got to be aliens!
Well,
It couldn't be the thing that genuinely happens in Miami all the time, which is a gang fight where people start hurting people not involved with the fight. It's definitely 10-foot tall, gray walking lizard
I
aliens.
thought it was like 12 and a half foot.
I
don't know. They're very tall, though.
It's not aliens, people. It was just a gang fight in Miami because that's what happens in Miami, man.
You know, an alien would say it's not aliens. It's propaganda. Rob is an alien.
Unless I decide to go home to Jupiter this weekend.
Sign off and go to the mothership.
Y'all have a lovely rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be back on Monday to talk NFL playoff bracket, college football national championship, and more. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. This was and will be again on Monday, the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Later. Yeah. All right. Oh, man.
Yes, I did give you all the double live long and prosper because I care that much.
All right, let's see. Joey B says over or under 4 head coaches fired before your show goes off the air on Monday. Joey B, set it at 3.5 or 4.5 because I'm going to say 4 is a real good number. I think that Ron Rivera's gone. Hoodie's a question mark. I'm going to say yes. I don't know if it'll be a firing or a retirement question mark, but I think P Digits appreciates coming by, big dog. Good to talk to you. I'm going to go with Rivera's gone. I'm going to go with Hoodie is gone. I think I am going to go with, I don't know if Arthur Smith gone from Atlanta? Do you move on from him in Atlanta? I think you can pretty much blame it on quarterback play. So I'm going to go, I'll say Smith is not gone. I will say Eberflus stays around for another year.
Especially thanks to the quarterback play in the last couple of games. That helped him out.
Dennis Allen is coming back. Staley is gone. Who? Staley?
No, somebody has already
been.
Well, anyway, he's gone. He is already gone.
Who else? Vrabel, I think, is going to get one more.
I don't know.
I am going to go with. I think I'm going to go with 4. I think 4 is the number, which is interesting because I remember like 5 or 6 weeks ago, Adam Schefter said he thought that there could be as many as 8, but I think he's going to be wrong. I think he's going to overshot. I think it's going to be 4. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm going to go 4. That's going to be my final answer. I got to go. Lonzo does it, but he's going to anyway. You'll have a lovely rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. Follow me on Twitter at The Rob Brown Show. Follow me across all social media at The Rob Brown Show. And we'll see you back here Monday. Goodbye.
Why do I not